I thought that the staple food was pine nuts. Then I'll have to smash it until the year of the monkey. He asked weakly. Don't you eat meat? Bella rolled her eyes. What is so good about meat? Sometimes I still eat it. It is not so troublesome to eat often. Bai Qingqing smiled awkwardly. That is, you can't bake. It's delicious when it's baked. If you don't believe me, I'll bake it for you to try. Bella shook her head, unmoved. Then the supervision mode was turned on. Don't stop. Bai Qingqing could only helplessly speed up the movements of his hands. I don't know how long it took. Alva's voice came from the door. Bella. I am back. When he entered the house, he threw a big pine cone to Bai Qingqing. Then your blunders. Bai Qingqing hadn't reacted yet. The pine cone fell on the shoulder. Soccer ball big pine cones. Smashed Bai Qingqing's shoulder red. He rubbed his shoulder. Say thank you politely. That's when Alva walked to the door. I'll take you to where you live. Just wrap Bella with pine nuts there. Bai Qingqing listened. Immediately happily hugged the big pine cone and obediently followed. On the other side, Curtis finally caught up with the Hippogriff 5. The eagle beasts looked at the thorn beast in front of them. The brow furrowed. Although they are numerically superior, but I still don't know the bottom of my heart. Curtis, on the other hand, is much calmer. After all, he was determined to kill the other party. And yet at this moment, a black hawk flew above in the air. Eagle talons. He was also clutching a scarecrow like Bai Qingqing. The eagle beast saw Bai Qingqing's figure. Immediately agitated Bai Qingqing. Kill him there. As the black hawk flew lower and lower, Curtis looms. Also saw Bai Qingqing's shadow. He excitedly shouted Bai Qingqing's name. Black Hawk hurried towards Curtis. Hand him the scarecrow. Curtis took it. It was found to be a dummy. Extremely lost. Moore hurriedly explained that Bai Qingqing was in a safe place. Curtis listened. Angry you. Leave him alone. Where he is, I'll go to him now. Moore said as hard as he could, lowering his voice. You go to him now. Would put him in danger. Curtis also whispered back that you are incompetent. I'm looking to see who dares to approach. Moore anxiously persuaded. Can you promise to protect him at all times? You bear with it. He was stared at with murderous intent all the time. Curtis instantly felt like he had been poked in the underbelly. I hesitated at the thought of such a picture. After thinking for a moment, ask Moore if you are sure he is safe now. Moore immediately explained the situation. There's a peacock tribe in front. He's in there. There will be no danger. But only if you don't let the eagle beast find out. And if the peacock knows about Qingqing, the trouble will be even greater. Instead of passive, it's better to hunt them down one by one now. No future trouble. It just so happened that Curtis was doing this. After a while, Moore also said that they were now sending a message to the British. A round trip takes 14 days. During this time, we killed all the British. You can leave with Bai Qingqing. After saying that, these fungus turned into eagles and flew away. The rest of the eagle beasts saw that Bai Qingqing was left in the hands of the snake beast. I didn't catch up. Curtis looked at the eagle beast flying away. He hugged the scarecrow in his arms. He swore in his heart that he would wait. Someday they will all be killed. Moore made a fake Bai Qingqing out of a scarecrow. In Curtis's hands, a trick golden cicada out of the shell. He threw all the firepower of the British beast to the archer. And you can easily return to the Peacock clan. Looking for Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing was very happy to see Moore come back. Did you lure them away? Can we go? Moore scratched his head weakly. I don't know how to explain it. Qingqing. I sawing shows reaction. Bai Qingqing immediately guessed the answer. The light in his eyes dimmed instantly. I'll just say why you're back today. Led them away. At least for a few days. Moore hurriedly explained that he was not worried about Bai Qingqing. You're going to give birth in just over a month. I want you to give birth here. Then we left again. Shou's words made Bai Qingqing hope again. Well, that's fine. That's when Curtis and Parker arrived. I'm not afraid of anything. These words made Muir's heart flutter for a while. It also gave him the determination to get rid of the snake beasts and the violent beasts. It's more determined. After a while, Bai Qingqing smiled and said okay. I'm going back to wrap pine nuts for a female. Went first. Mu Ear hurriedly said that he would bring him food in the evening. Bai Qingqing refused with a smile and said no. There's enough meat here for a day. Go find something to eat. Be careful when you're out there. After telling Bai Qingqing, he turned around and went back. He was happy with the situation. Working in the peacock tribe feeds itself. You don't have to be looked at like more. On the way back, suddenly a rustling sound was heard. Driven by curiosity, he searched for the sound. Behind a tree, there is a flock of peacocks courting the female. One by one, they spread their beautiful tails. Bai Qingqing's eyes lit up when he saw it. Here the peacock open screen. It's so beautiful. Much better than usual pictures. Take a closer look. That female turned out to be Bella. He's enjoying it. Pursued by these peacock stars like the moon. The peacocks squeezed forward desperately one by one. From time to time, he also deliberately covers the competitors next to him. Among them, this green-haired peacock is the most beautiful. The feathers on the tail are brilliantly colored. Ambolite. Even the area is larger than other peacocks. Bai Qingqing's gaze was instantly attracted by the green peacock. He opened his mouth in surprise and couldn't close it for a long time. It's so beautiful, I really want to pull one back. That's when it happened. Two orcs pointed at Bai Qingqing and whispered, "Look at the alien females over there watching Alva." Alva heard this. Bai Qingqing looked. Black-blue. There was obvious boredom in his eyes. Bella looked at Bai Qingqing and sneered. I thought that this ugly female still wanted to rob me of a male, but it couldn't be. Suddenly, his nose twitched and he sniffed vigorously. Then he strode towards Bai Qingqing. Wait for what you've got in your hand. Bai Qingqing subconsciously looked at the barbecue in his hand. Hold it up and say happily, this is what I call barbecue. The fungus was roasted for me. Do you want to taste it? Bella was not welcome. Plug in the little demon and order, bring it to me. When Yin Green Peacock immediately retracted its tail, slowly transform into a human form. Then Alwana's handsome face followed. He appeared with the long, straight green hair. He strode up to Bai Qingqing. Look at Alva. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but reminisce. Dongdong's peacock form. Then he prepares to open the leaves. I'll give a little. Don't wait for him to finish. The bag of meat had already been snatched by Ava. Bai Qingqing suddenly felt the cold heart that the autumn wind could not sweep away. That's his day's food. It was snatched away. Bella drooled. Can't wait to take the roast from Alva. Bai Qingqing watched as his beloved barbecue was snatched away. Helpless. I can only silently turn around and comfort myself. Just pay some rent. Let's eat pine nuts today. Bella is enjoying a delicious barbecue. Alva on the side saw Bai Qingqing leave gloomily. I felt a little unbearable. At this time, Bai Qingqing had already returned to the treehouse. To fill your stomach. He could only peel some pine nuts and eat them. However, the raw pine nuts taste good. Bai Qingqing thought that it would be good to make up some nuts for the child. That's when Alva walked in through the door. He also carries a fluffy little cutie in his hand. This green peacock unknowingly. It's getting better and better for Bai Qingqing. Seeing that Qingqing didn't eat, he will also be hunted. It's your food. And animal skins. Bai Qingqing looked at the unknown creature in front of him in a daze. There's no way to start. After thinking about it, he politely refused. You might as well take this little thing. I won't kill either. I can't eat the green peacock that was rejected with good intentions. Scolded Bai Qingqing with an unhappy face. Bai Qingqing, who was stupid and scolded, was not annoyed. Just smiled cutely. Alva was instantly touched by this smile. This female is also too good-tempered. He didn't seem to be that annoying either. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing's chin was gently lifted by a big hand. He was too frightened to move. Alva just stared at Bai Qingqing. Take a closer look. Although the thick eyelashes and closed eyes are beautiful, but Bai Qingqing really didn't want to appreciate it at the moment. One of his hearts hung in the air. Could it be that the purple branches and leaves on his face have fallen? Suddenly, Alva held out his other hand, stood in front of Bai Qingqing, cover up and down with both hands. Only the part of Bai Qingqing's eyes was exposed. I watched it for a long time. Alva spoke slowly, and I suddenly realized, your face is actually quite good. If there is no birthmark, you may be beautiful. When Alva said this, there was a strange light in his eyes. It's like discovering a new continent. But Bai Qingqing was really taken aback. He instinctively wanted to back off. Alva was afraid that he would fall. Reach out and help immediately. Bai Qingqing was so frightened that he turned around and exclaimed, "Don't you?" Suddenly, the words are not finished. Bai Qingqing suddenly felt. The feeling of restraint in the upper body suddenly disappeared. The next second, Alva's pupils shrank in shock, and Bai Qingqing is clutching the sliding animal skin sling in a panic. A second has passed. The two of them turned around in embarrassment. Alva coughed twice. Cover up your weakness. Do you foreign females have so much meat on their breasts? This question made Bai Qingqing's already blushing face even hotter. Probably because I'm a mammalian orc. The pups need to be fed. You who lay eggs do not need to be fed. The female brother is relatively flat. Alva looked aware. Nodding his head, he said. After a while, he said, I'll deal with this meat for you. In exchange, you teach me how to barbecue. Bella loves to eat your roasted meat. Bai Qingqing was relieved when he heard the last sentence. After all, the green peacock's behavior just now was quite misleading. Knowing that he learned barbecue for Bella, Bai Qingqing happily agreed. Soon the two of them lit a fire by the creek. Start the barbecue tutorial. I don't know why. Alva couldn't help but stare at Bai Qingqing. There was no longer disgust in his eyes. It's an appreciation. Soon the smell of meat was tangy. Alva is satisfied that this is the taste. Bai Qingqing skillfully wrapped the roasted meat with leaves. He smiled and handed the meat to Alva Dao. Here you go. Alva looked at Bai Qingqing and was stunned. Then he took the barbecue from Bai Qingqing's hands. Suddenly, he said coldly, let's give food to the opposite sex here. Representatives like each other. Bai Qingqing's intestines were full of regret when he heard this. Alva eats meat while eating. While smugly he couldn't. I give you pine nuts that represent pineapples. It's not about me. Bai Qingqing buried his head and said that he knew. Suddenly, the green peacock's eyes couldn't help but look at it again. After another look, his eyes fell on Bai Qingqing's hair. Long hair that has not been cared for a long time looks frizzy. Alva's law repeatedly. I still can't help but open my mouth to eat more pine nuts. It is good for hair. It took Bai Qingqing a long time to react and know. Thank you, Wan Yin. The green peacock was suddenly inexplicably happy. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind the tree behind the two of them. Behind the tree, the two were pulled to see the two alone. Righteous gnashing of teeth. The next day, Bai Qingqing heard the sound of being pulled in the room. I don't eat your pine nuts. He hurriedly walked to the door to check the situation. From afar, Bella was seen on the green hole. The finch is furious, and you go. Don't let me see you again. Alva asked Bella pitifully. You said you'd mate with me when you were in heat this year. Have you repented? Why? Suddenly, Bella rolled her eyes at Bai Qingqing. Go after that ugly female. I don't want you anymore. Alva looked over Bella's gaze. When I turned around, I saw Bai Qingqing standing there. Suddenly, the closed eyes lit up with a green light. There was a mixture of resentment and anger in his eyes. It's really hard to live under the fence. Bai Qingqing obviously didn't do anything, but was targeted by Alva and Bella. The green peacock's eyes made Bai Qingqing shudder. Bai Qingqing, who felt bad, immediately turned around and walked away. A heavy heart hangs in the air. He walked to the river. I saw the fungus coming towards me. Meet the beloved girl Youngju. Suddenly my heart was overjoyed. Bai Qingqing squeezed out a stiff smile. Say hello and good morning. Moore was keenly aware of Bai Qingqing's unhappiness. He grabbed Bai Qingqing's shoulder excitedly. Eagerly asked if it was not happy. They treat you badly. Bai Qingqing hurriedly said no. Just thinking Curtis and Parker. Bai Qingqing thought to himself, we can't afford to give any more trouble. After that, Bella and Ava were still closed. Moore's hand slowly let go. The loss in my heart slowly crept up my cheeks. Wait for Curtis to find him. I should go back. At the beginning, I could only wait and see. He looked at Bai Qingqing's bulging belly. Say I'll take good care of you. Bai Qingqing didn't know how to respond. Actually, for him, the biggest trouble is the pursuit of fungus. Walk on the way back to the treehouse. Bai Qingqing heard someone shouting at him above. When I looked up, I saw Alva and being pulled on a branch. I was asked what about the pine nuts that I packed. Bai Qingqing tried to suppress the dissatisfaction in his heart. Kindly said that it was put in the wooden house. I'll get it for you. After saying that, he rushed to the treehouse and ran to the treehouse. Alva looked at Bai Qingqing's back. There is something wrong with my heart. When Bai Qingqing handed the wrapped pine nuts to Bella, Bella was inexplicably annoyed. He slapped the pine nuts to the ground. Questioning Alva, you gave him pine nuts again, and said you didn't like him. I don't want to see you again. Alva waved his hand in fright. Explanation, no. I gave him 2 loose balls. It must be some other female. Don't wait for him to finish. Bai Qingqing interrupted him. I didn't eat much of the pine nuts Alva gave me. It's all for you. Bella was stunned, opened his mouth and hummed. That's pretty much it. Listen to Alva. You roasted the meat. That being the case, you can give me a barbecue every day. Give me your roasted meat first. I wanted to eat and opened my hand towards Bai Qingqing. This is clearly not fair trade anymore. It's plunder. Bai Qingqing glared at Yuan's eyes. He said angrily, what if I don't give it? Without waiting for Bella to speak, Alva's indifferent voice was heard. Then get out of here. After saying this, Alva regretted it a little. He himself didn't know. Why is there such a strange feeling? Bai Qingqing's eyes suddenly filled with tears. He forced himself to cry. As soon as I say yes, I will give it to you. Bai Qingqing handed over the meat. Turn away. Suddenly Alva's voice was heard. If you feel wronged, you can find a peacock male as a companion. Then you don't have to work for anyone. Bai Qingqing rejected her without even thinking about it. No, I'll leave after giving birth. Say it. Bai Qingqing strode away. Seeing this, he was pulled. A smug face. And Alva looked at Bai Qingqing's back. Complex expressions. It is indeed pulled open. You ask him to choose another male. I believe you now. Wenyin Alva suddenly smiled. You are the most beautiful female of the tribe. I don't like it. Who do you like? Bella laughed, and said she was still angry. When he saw that Bai Qingqing, he was angry. I haven't decided to give you the right to mate for the first time. It's up to you to perform. Alva immediately said earnestly. I won't let you down. In this way, the two reconciled again. And that's all of it. I was watched by a peacock in the tree. He quacked twice at Alva. Soon Alva heard a call from the trees. He hurriedly explained to Bella, the patriarch is calling me. I'll come when I go. Alva walked into a wooden house. Respectfully asked, Father, you have something to do with me. The old peacock did not speak. It was just a sudden punch to Alva's face. In this world, bullying women, your father has to be beaten, and your mother doesn't know you. Alva was defenseless, was beaten by his father, and fell to the ground. After the camera is turned away, I saw the patriarch of the Peacock clan standing there, although not a word. But it exudes the coercion of the king that people dare not approach. A moment later, a hoarse, muddy voice rang out. Do you know why I hit you? The fungus replied without thinking. Bullying females. The green peacock was so angry that he stepped on a fungus with 1 foot. You also know. That's not the biggest reason I'm angry, though. I'm most annoyed. You actually excluded a female. Especially since the female still has children. He had children at such a young age. Fertility is definitely not bad. You're still too young. Tell me how to rest assured. Tribal pride. Alva explained. I know you can rest assured. This was done in pursuit of Bella. Something else will be handled correctly. The green peacock heard his son say this. The tone was much softer. I saw that he was a timid female. Not much contact with males. Only spoke to you. You have the best chance of pursuing him. Alva listened. Hurriedly waved his hand and refused. That's impossible. My partner must be the most beautiful of the tribe. Then he clutched his chest and continued. It's ugly to talk about him. Only Bella is worthy of me. Hearing this, the green peacock sighed helplessly. Then you arrange it as soon as possible. Don't let him go. I'm not fit anymore. In the future, the tribe will be handed over to you to manage. After saying this, the green peacock let Alva go down. At this time, the other side is near the end of the sea. A black hawk is vigilantly patrolling left and right. Suddenly, a red snake tail swam quickly behind him. Black Hawk was startled when he heard the sound. It's just that by the time he reacts, it's too late. Curtis's bloody jaw was already in front of him. Less than 1 second. Black Hawk was bitten off by a red python. Bai Qingqing's belly is getting bigger and bigger day by day. Mobility is limited, but he still has to give Bella a barbecue every day. If you bake it a little slowly, you will be scolded by Bella. But since the Mauryan patriarch said it, Alva deliberately arranged for other males to help Bai Qingqing. The goal is to get the males in the group to pursue him, then help them reproduce. And Bai Qingqing. At this time, I didn't know the intention of the orc in front of me. Bella sees other males. The passionate pursuit of Bai Qingqing. His mouth was crooked. So ugly, there are even males to help him. On this day, Bai Qingqing came to the agreed place to find Moore. Look at him running out of breath. Moore was distressed. Slow down. Your belly is so big. Don't run that fast. Foot pain does not hurt. Bai Qingqing gasped and said that he was fine. I'm used to it. Then slow down too. All sweating. As he spoke, Moore stretched out his hand to wipe Bai Qingqing's sweat. Bai Qingqing hurriedly wiped himself indiscriminately. He held up his dyed hand and smiled. Wipe the sweat and get dirty. You can bring me more pitballs next time. The fire room was too hot. I always like to sweat. Several times I almost got a goof. Luckily, I always keep my head down. No one noticed. Moore was puzzled. I gave it to you by burning the fire. Is there not enough food to eat? Bai Qingqing was so panicked that his eyes rolled. Hurriedly explained that he was baking things to satisfy his hunger. Not because of hunger. The fungus did not have any intentions. Just asked Bai Qingqing what he likes to eat. He did it to him together. Bai Qingqing smiled and said, I have a very good appetite today. I want a double grilled meat. Soon Moore hunted for food. Bai Qingqing can finally take a vacation today. Don't do it yourself. He noticed Moore looking tired. There are some worries. Isn't that group of beasts gone yet? Do they often look for you? This simple line of concern. It made Moore's heart jump for joy. The warmth of a flame spreads throughout the body. No, I try to keep it closed. They only meet occasionally. My strength is one of the best in the Eagle clan. It's still okay to get rid of them. It's just a bit of effort. Moore replied lightly. On the contrary, it made Bai Qingqing feel even more guilty. Moore is sorry. I'm the one who has caused you. Insho was anxious when he heard it. Don't think about it. I'm happy to be involved with you. I'm afraid you won't even give me a chance to get involved. Bai Qingqing was so distressed. On the one hand, it is necessary to deliberately avoid Moore's pursuit. On the other hand, they have to deal with the fawning of the peacock tribe. Peacock male. Attentively set firewood for Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing's polite toy. I have already grilled the meat. Thank you anyway, though. Raise your eyes and see the orc's peach blossom smile. Bai Qingqing was aware. He lowered his head and said coldly, I won't accept you. You still don't help me. The man scratched his head. It's just a small thing for me. You're going to have to work hard to get it done. Even if you don't accept it, I'll forget it. I'll still help you. 1 yen. Bai Qingqing felt much more relaxed. I sincerely said thank you to that person. The blue-haired orc continued. The tribe doesn't like me. You don't have a male now. Step into our raid. My feathers are not very colored. It's good-looking, but it can feed you. Bai Qingqing was immediately amused by this stupid thin man. Then he half-jokingly said that it really can't. My partner is very possessive. They are also very capable. But my new partner is too weak. We'll be killed by them. The blue-haired orc was instantly frightened and froze. Is that the eagle beast? Then he lowered his head and sighed, saying that he was indeed strong. Doesn't look easy to get along with. Bai Qingqing hurriedly explained that it was not him. But there is one person who is similar to him. Speaking of which, Parker's goofy face came to mind. There used to be males who pursued me, and he won a duel with men every day. The more Bai Qingqing thought about it, the more sad she became. After a moment, the blue-haired orc continued, and that was all there was to it. I'll help you, though. Bai Qingqing didn't understand why. The blue-haired orc secretly looked at Bai Qingqing. Blushing, actually, I still like you very much. It feels like you're cute to get along with. With that, he shyly twisted his head to the side. Bai Qingqing immediately became alert. I thought to myself that I had a lot to say today. Is the nature exposed? Fortunately, this orc is easy to dismiss. You'll have to pay more attention to it in the future. After the blue-haired orc explained that Bai Qingqing had something to look for him, I went back. Bai Qingqing thought about his current situation. I couldn't help but sigh again. There is no way, life still has to go on. He should have gone and sent meat to the peacock. Seeing that Bai Qingqing was not angry, Bella said that it was finally here. Grill me quickly. Bai Qingqing looked at this nasty female. It's also a bitter face. The meat is already roasted. As he spoke, he handed him the meat. Suddenly, he was pulled and waved his hand to knock the meat off. Then he said with a noble gesture, I'm going to eat the chick meat that Alva caught for me. Ordinary lean meat is so hard. What kind of delicate female like mine eats? Then he changed to a look of disdain, said contemptuously, It's only a lowly female like you who can bite. When Bai Qingqing tried to suppress the anger in his heart, I heard that obnoxious voice again. It's already that ugly. If it's not good to raise a little, there will be no male medicine. I can't bear it any more to hear this. Secretly burst into a foul language. I've seen shameless people in my heart. I've never seen anything so shameless. If it's on the internet, I guess it has to be a celebrity. It's really visionless. This meat is specially hunted by fungus. Is it good for animals with very tender meat? A fight with wild boar. Rare delicacy. It feels cheap to give him points. Just when Bai Qingqing was complaining in his heart, Bella asked, What do you say? Bai Qingqing replied with a wooden face, Nothing. And he went aside. On the other side, Moore came to a wood. He coldly spat out a few words. I'm here to help you kill the snake beast. The Wanyan Beast squad was collectively stunned for a moment. The leader of the Sarmon expressed disbelief. You've been chasing Bai Qingqing. Can help us. I don't think you're such an easy male to give up. It also pushes the beloved female into a desperate situation. Moore immediately said excitedly. Of course, he will not give up Bai Qingqing. But I have a mortal enmity with Curtis. There he is. I can't be Bai Qingqing's male, so I must get rid of him. As for Bai Qingqing, I'll take care of him. The beasts looked at each other. After a hurry, I believed it several times. So what can you do? Moore became murderous at the thought of Curtis. The snake beast is a light enemy. If the swarm rises and attacks, not necessarily. I have guarded Bai Qingqing in the shadows for a year. As far as I observed, snake beasts have poor eyesight during the day. It just so happens that the mountain plants he chose are short. It should not be covered. The ground is very bright. His vision is affected. As long as the light is bright, we can go together. It will definitely be able to kill Bai Qingqing's many suitors. The Chinese and British beasts, more absolutely. It's the richest and most unscrupulous one. In order to monopolize Bai Qingqing, actually played the role of a double agent. He first told Curtis that he could gather the beasts. It is convenient for him to annihilate in one fell swoop. Then he found the group of heroic beasts to sacrifice and kill Curtis. Ingsho didn't believe that what Moore said was true. Suspect that this is a conspiracy of their total, in order to convince the British beast. Moore told them about Curtis's shortcomings. And the method of antidote to snake venom was also said. The eagle beast, which had no worries, suddenly jumped with joy. So on a sunny day, a fierce battle directed by Melbourne began. The hippogriff didn't know that Curtis had been prepared. And Curtis didn't know. Moore revealed his shortcomings to the eagles. The eagles saw an opportunity to attack Curtis. Curtis hummed at the corner of his mouth. Looking for death said. The giant snake's tail flicked at random. In the next second, the three eagle beasts were like flies. He was slapped to death on the ground. Know the hierarchy gap. It's not something that can be easily erased by quantity. On the other side, more is already unfolding. The next step in the murder of Curtis. I saw him pick up a jar of green tree oil. Fall to the ground. The foot of the mountain where Curtis and the eagle beast were killed. Diesel fuel is poured all over the lap. And this tree oil. It was the time when Bai Qingqing burned the single tree. He learned it. Now he uses the same trick to burn Curtis. He lit one on fire. The fire escalated instantly. It won't take long. The entire mountain, along with Curtis, will be reduced to ashes. In a moment, the fire had spread to where Curtis was. Curtis is also at this moment. Learned about the true purpose of the heroic beast. The rest of the beast squad suddenly felt bad. Found that Bai Qingqing, who had been tracking, turned out to be a dummy. They immediately decided to retreat. But Curtis didn't let them go. I want to run and dream. Even with the high temperatures under a fierce fire, Curtis is still in the beast squad. None of the remaining ones are solved. But the fire has spread throughout the mountain. Curtis found himself in a situation from which he could not escape. He looked at the tree in front of him. Have a plan. I saw him wrap his snake tail around the trunk of the tree. It breaks in two with a slight break. Immediately, a large number of branches sprang up from it. He lifted the broken trunk aloft in the air. Then stand up straight. Let the branches be watered from end to end. And so he curled himself up in the branches. Turned into an amber. Soon the fire was extinguished. Curtis disappeared into the flames. At this time, Bai Qingqing also seemed to have sensed it. A stone that should have been smashed on a pine nut. The knot smashed firmly into the finger. Bai Qingqing only felt a dullness in his chest. Tears came down unconsciously. Suddenly, he noticed that the wrinkles left by Curtis flashed red. And Bella was still urging him to loosen it quickly. Bai Qingqing couldn't stand it anymore. Shoot the ground. Throw the pine nuts in Bella's face. Burst out of thin crisps. Fuck you off. Bella subconsciously closed her eyes. Alva on the side was also stunned. Then Bella asked Alva for green. The peacock's face was dark. Stared at Bai Qingqing. In the next second, Bai Qingqing was pressed into the water. Alvalai shouted, apologizing to Bella. Is it tolerable or intolerable? Bai Qingqing is still pregnant with a child. Being treated so rudely by males. I can't take it anymore. I saw my hands locked back on the peacock's head. Then he secretly used his partner's energy to throw him into the river. Suddenly, Alva's old face couldn't be hung up. He jerked around. Wants to continue to teach Bai Qingqing a lesson. At this time, the purple juice on Bai Qingqing's face had been dissolved by water. Bai Qingqing, who has lifted the seal. Restore that beautiful face again. Alva was instantly fascinated. His eyes were fixed on Bai Qingqing. The fair cheeks are flushed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Crimson was pulled ashore. All discovered that something was wrong with Alva. Suddenly, a strong sense of detachment attacked Bai Qingqing. At the moment when he was about to fall, Alva scrambled to hold him up. Saw the tears hanging on Bai Qingqing's face. I couldn't help but reach out and wipe it off for her. For a long time, Alva was trapped in Bai Qingqing's beauty and couldn't extricate himself. Hindsight. Found himself crying after Bai Qingqing. Ava panicked. She excitedly grabbed Bai Qingqing and apologized. But Qingqing only has disgust for her now. She found a problem. I wanted to borrow Curtis's strength. Push Ava into the river. It turned out to be Parker's power. Is it really Curtis who has an accident? She couldn't hold back the tears in her sad eyes. Seeing this, Alva felt distressed. He picked Bai Qingqing up from the river. Bai Qingqing struggled to refuse, but to no avail. Bella, who didn't know why, also wanted to blame Alva. Why should you be so nice to Bai Qingqing? As a result, Alva acted as if he hadn't heard. At this time, more orcs ran over to save Bai Qingqing. Alva immediately whispered in Bai Qingqing's ear. Said a word. Do you want more males to see what you look like? Bai Qingqing stopped. The current situation. It really shouldn't be any more troublesome. So he obediently hid in Alva's arms. Don't let anyone else see it. Bella looked incredulously. Alva, who was still pursuing himself, just now. Seeing this, the surrounding males also talked a lot. Right now, Alva is definitely after the female in his arms. Bella turned around and walked away without a dull face. After Alva put Bai Qingqing down. Turning around, the orcs who were watching the excitement were also sent away. Now Curtis's fate is uncertain. Bai Qingqing didn't want to pay attention to anything. He walked on his own. Alva watched Bai Qingqing from behind him and fell into worry. I obviously like Bai Qingqing's character, but he gave up because of Bella's beauty. I didn't expect Bai Qingqing to look much better than Bella. It's ironic. I bullied her like that. Will she still like me? I saw Bai Qingqing's hair dripping. Alva immediately brought in the hides to help her dry them. Bai Qingqing smiled bitterly and said with a smile, You recognize the wrong person. I'm not Bella. Hearing this, Alva was stunned for a moment. Then he picked up Bai Qingqing as if he had never heard of it. You are physically inconvenient. I'll carry you back. After returning to the wooden house, Alva told Bai Qingqing. She has disowned Bella. Bai Qingqing never cared. What does this green peacock think? Now he just wants to get out of this place. I heard that Bai Qingqing was leaving. Ava grabbed his hand excitedly. He begged him not to leave. But now Bai Qingqing is very disgusted with Ava. He quickly withdrew his hand. You just like my looks. If one day I'm really ugly, will you still like me? If I meet a female who is more beautiful than me, would you still choose me? Alva thought for a moment. Seriously, if we've already traveled, naturally, I will identify you for the rest of my life. If not, I'll choose the one that looks better. Bai Qingqing was speechless. This green peacock is honest. It turned out to be a face control. This place should not be stayed for long. When Moore came, he proposed to him to leave. It's the same for changing places, etc. That's when it happened. Outside the house, there was the sound of a peacock. Alva had a hunch that something was going on. After reporting to Bai Qingqing, he went out to check the situation. Come over for a moment. Alva appeared at the door with Moore. For Bai Qingqing at this time, Moore was as bloody as a savior. He hurriedly got up and rushed towards him. See the scratch on Moore's waist. Bai Qingqing was worried for a while. He immediately helped him into the cabin. Alva made a decision at this point. In order to keep Bai Qingqing, Moore had to live in a wooden house as well. At all costs, I want to keep Bai Qingqing. Let her be my female white. Qingqing looked at Moore's wounds and was very satisfied. The bright eyes suddenly became moist. Moore hurriedly reassured him that it was okay. It will be fine soon. The group of heroic beasts was also solved. Bai Qingqing was surprised that you killed them all. Moore brazenly said that it was about the same. Suddenly, his gaze fell on the beast pattern on Qingqing's ankle. He panicked. It couldn't be. Curtis isn't even dead. How can it be? I've already searched the mountains. There was nothing in the cave. The surface of the mountain is only ash. Even if he escapes from the mountain, then you should come after me. But he didn't move. Come to think of it, he hurriedly got up to say goodbye to Bai Qingqing. He's going to find Curtis on his way back to the mountains, and then give him the final blow. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing pulled him to wait. Have you seen Curtis or not? He should be nearby. When Yiningsho was stunned. After a few moments, he replied no. I'm going to dispose of Youngshu's body. I'll be back in a minute. Bai Qingqing was a little skeptical about Moore's reaction, but didn't think much about it. After Moore left, and flew back to the mountain that burned to ashes. I looked up and down, inside and out, but still nothing. He defiantly yelled Curtis in the air. I'm here to kill me. It doesn't matter if you're dead or not. I will definitely get Bai Qingqing. After double confirmation, he went back to the treehouse again, seeing Bai Qingqing's worried look on his face. He deserves a burst of joy in his heart. Seen in the same room as him. When you prepare your own bed. I thought it was even more. Bai Qingqing has already tried to start accepting himself. In this unfamiliar place. Moore was already an old acquaintance. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but confide in him the fear in his heart. Moore found that Bai Qingqing was no longer resistant to him. He even saw a hint of dependence in Qingqing's eyes. And in the afternoon, not far away in a wooded field, a familiar figure finally appeared. Night and day. The rush makes this leopard skin too thrilling. He felt that Bai Qingqing was using his ability. I am afraid that my beloved girl will be in danger. But she didn't dare to think about it. She comforted herself that Curtis was there. Maybe Qingqing is just playful. I really want to celebrate. I really want to hold her and be coquettish to her. The fungus remained behind the tribe. Give her a barbecue every day. She also stepped on the purple ball. I want Qingqing to apply it to my face again. Bai Qingqing didn't want to trouble self-discipline. After 3 decide or rub on. After all, Curtis and Parker are not there. I always feel uneasy. Ever since I saw Bai Qingqing's beauty, Alva began to be courteous to him. A large pot full of pine nuts stunned Bai Qingqing. So many of them you smashed in the morning. I can't smash that much in a day. The fungus is keenly aware of information. What to smash pine nuts? Qingqing, why do you want to smash a day? Matsuko Bai Qingqing realized that he had said the wrong thing. Quickly explained. I did it for someone else. It's okay anyway. Alva on the side seemed to have a condemned conscience. Honestly admit what you did. I didn't ask him to wrap it up for the females of the clan. Otherwise, Moore hears this. His face darkened in a moment. Otherwise, whatever. Alva's volume suddenly weakened a lot. Otherwise, they will drive him out. The voice fell. The green peacock's good-looking face. It was smashed by a strong fist. With just one punch, Alva was knocked into shape, falling to the ground. Moore saw this. One ripped off his own hides. It's just that the beast shape fights more ruthlessly. The painter turned into a black eagle. Attacked the peacock. Budoge Alvana. Beautiful peacock feathers fall like autumn leaves. Bai Qingqing caught the peacock feather that he was thinking about. A burst of snickering. It's so beautiful. Finally, you can collect peacock feathers. But if it was seen by Curtis and Parker, come to think of it, angry snake beasts and leopard beasts, it is already clearly visible in the mind. Forget it. Then he dropped his feathers and went to persuade him. At this time, the other males of the tribe heard the movement. I also came out to see the excitement. I saw that the future patriarch of my family was for the female. Ate a melon, by the way, after a fight. A few days ago. Didn't you still condone the female who was bullied? Why did he fight with others again for him today? See that it is not a foreign invasion. And they went away in peace. And Bai Qingqing also found that the fungus had no killing intent. It just so happened that the meat was also grilled. So he also went to eat meat in peace. As a result, Bai Qingqing just ate a bite of meat. The fungus came back from the fight. Bai Qingqing hurriedly checked Alva's situation. See the once beautiful peacock tail. Now there is not a dime left. Bai Qingqing really wanted to laugh. But after all, it's someone else's territory. Bai Qingqing did not forget to persuade Yiningsho not to fight with the second baby again. Anyway, it won't last long before leaving. There's no need to make a feud. Moore saw that Qingqing had no intention of the green peacock. Happily showed 8 teeth. I don't allow anyone to bully. Bai Qingqing gasped in fright. It's good I didn't tell him about Allah throwing me in the water. Otherwise, I will have to make a fuss and be ordered. And so it went for a few more days. Suddenly, the treehouse shook. Bai Qingqing hurriedly ran outside to check the situation. Countless peacocks were seen flying into the air. The mood in my heart was shaken. Could it be that I really have a catastrophic constitution? Come to think of it, the image of the original king's prophecy came to mind clearly. What am I going to do? Flee to a place where no one is. Sure enough, I was right to die. The more Bai Qingqing thought about it, the more scared he became. His feet seemed to be welded to the ground, and he couldn't move. At this time, a peacock on the branch of the tree came over. It turned out to be Alva. He was struggling in his heart whether to go down to protect Bai Qingqing. He would love to go. But when I looked back, I saw a bald feather. Can't take a step. Fortunately, a familiar black eagle passed through the sky at this moment. Mu-Ear was anxious to find Bai Qingqing. Hold him down. Don't be afraid I'm running. Leopards on the road also felt the earthquake. He's a jumper. Popped up the tree. After some inspection, it was found that the source of the earthquake was in the direction of Wanshou City. Parker snickered. Let's just say that it has nothing to do with Qingqing. Qingqing left Wanshou City. Still haven't escaped the disaster. Then, he continued to happily move towards Bai Qingqing. Rushed all the way through. Bai Qingqing was so scared. It is to be forcibly left by the mermaid clan as a tool for giving birth to a baby. More than 200,000 mermaids lined up for pampering. The year of the monkey is ahead. Bai Qingqing also wanted to argue that he was not in love. The merfolk leader glanced at him. It seems that you really like the males of the land. For his cubs. I don't even want my own identity and responsibility. I saw the terrible look of the whale that seemed to be smiling but not smiling. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but tremble. Even 3 leopard cubs. Was also intimidated by Uncle Yu in front of him. Bai Qingqing knew that the gold-maid leader was misleading. What he is saying is also useless. I can only turn to the side as a default. Seeing this, Kim immediately pushed the bubbles. It is necessary to send Bai Qingqing to the female lair. Frightened on the road. Don't forget to secretly threaten Bai Qingqing. Come back with peace of mind. We will take care of these 3 leopard cubs together. Classical Chinese. Bai Qingqing subconsciously protected the child in his arms. But he thought about it. This might be a good opportunity to find Curtis. Since he can take the piano from the sea, I'm sure to take me with me too. Just find Curtis. Everything was solved. At this time, Lanze stepped forward. Jean is the card you get back. The first place in mating. Happiness came too suddenly. Lanze was immediately stupid. Until the envy of OU beside him. Before putting on the surprise. He immediately sped up and flicked that big tail. Go chase Bai Qingqing. Ecstasy. Let this big-tailed fish bubble straight to the heart bubble. Salmon full of joy. I didn't notice Bai Qingqing's indifferent face at all. It's so nice to kiss me. Saying that, Lanze actually shed tears of joy. Crystal-clear tears rolled out of the eye sockets and instantly froze. It has become a round and pink pearl. But Bai Qingqing only gave her a rolling word. He seems to have turned these legends into reality. Not so surprised. And if it weren't for this stupid fish, how did I end up at this point? Soon Bai Qingqing was sent to the lair. See only one person. He asked why you lost your females for 10 years. Why didn't you look for a stand-in for 10 years? You have to find me. Savvy, they like you. And things got big. We can't end up letting you go. There is only one female in our entire clan. When the females are gone, they will be exterminated. So please stay. Finally, don't forget to comfort me. If you really stay, they will be very nice to you. Glad to be shocked by the quintessence of the country. So many mermaids are all Qin's husband. Polyandry on land is simply weak. That's when he began to wonder if he should tell the mermaid. Qin is in Wanshou City. But thinking of their family's new and old hatred with Qin, the picture of the evil woman Aquaman leading the crowd to attack comes to mind vividly. Bai Qingqing coughed dryly twice, and he was also afraid of this. What if I don't want to? My partner loves me a lot. You've tasted the loss of your partner. I don't want to impose this feeling on others. I thought about it. Say give birth to a female, and you can leave. I remember that you land females give birth to females. Age agnostic. You have the opportunity to return to your land partner. Of course if you want to stay. I welcome it too. Bai Qingqing was speechless. I can't help it. Secretly gritted his teeth to express dissatisfaction. I want a bandits. I won't let my daughter play such a heavy marriage. After adjusting your emotions, Bai Qingqing asked, what about you again? If you find the piano, what about me? Hearing this, he burst into laughter. I laughed at myself. My fate was to find the piano or die. Actually, she knew. Jean's choice to leave is to abandon herself and her people. She told Bai Qingqing again, if you find love, I can take her away. You can go if you want. The choice is yours. Bai Qingqing has words of suffering. Either stay and give birth to a daughter and leave, or wait for the love to come back and settle accounts with yourself. It's a dead end. Send you 200,000 beautiful male fish as your husband. Do you want it or not? Bai Qingqing was forced to stay at the bottom of the sea by mermaids, breeding 200,000 fish for 200,000 people. Lanze is the mermaid in the first place. Leader Yu was chatting with Bai Qingqing about fate. At this time, the stupid fish Lanze came to Bai Qingqing to present the Diligence Sutra. Immediately make room for the two of them. Before leaving, he didn't forget to praise Lanze to Bai Qingqing. Lanze looked at the leader gratefully. For the first time, I thought this fish was not bad. After the leader is gone, he began to work hard to please Bai Qingqing. I caught a reef fish. I don't know if you like it or not. Bai Qingqing looked at the fish in the shell. Immediately got an idea. He first said coldly, call me Bai Qingqing. Silly fish immediately answered, did you change your name? Then he buried his head in processing the fish for Bai Qingqing. 3. 2 sashimi clicks are ready. Lanze immediately smiled and asked for praise, and Bai Qingqing just glanced at it. Then he pushed it away. I like to eat cooked. You take it out and make it for my partner. His name is Parker. By the way, tell him that our kids Curtis are all fine. At this time, the leopards also cooperated and whined. Lanze was suddenly cute. Looking at the puplets, I can't help but think about it. He also wanted to take the opportunity to continue to get close to them. Is it called Curtis? Which is called Ku? Which is called T? Bai Qingqing immediately pretended to be impatient. Just go quickly. I'm hungry, and the cubs will be hungry later. When Lanze heard this, he quickly got up. I'll go now. At this time, Parker had already moved one outside. As soon as Lanze, the helper of the group, came out of the water, he was targeted. The next second, all the peacock miracles pecked at him. What are you doing? When did the peacock eat mermaids? Lanzer said, don't forget to protect your Junmin with your hands. See Parker. He hurriedly explained his intentions. It was Bai Qingqing who asked me to come to you to make food. If you do this again, I will go down. Hear this. Parker immediately ordered the peacocks to let him go. He rushed to the merfolk. Excitedly said where Qingqing was. Give him back to me. Lanzer didn't speak. He looked at Parker with the eyes of a rival in love, while looking up and down. Also complained secretly. Dumbfounded. It's not as good looking as our mermaid males. What do you like about him? He sighed in disappointment. You're Parker. Bai Qingqing asked you to consider him. Parker struggled to resist the urge to make the fish. You give him back to me. Naturally, I will cook him a lot of delicious food. Lanzer smiled contemptuously. He's already from our merfolk. I don't mind if you're there, though. Go grill the fish. It's not good to be hungry for Bai Qingqing and the cubs. By the way, he told me to tell you about Curtis. All 3 are good. Listen to the tone of the stupid fish underbeaten. Parker wanted to have a seizure. Suddenly I heard Curtis's name. Suddenly blindfolded. You just said Curtis. My leopard boy. Lanze only thought that the leopard was too stupid. He handed over the fish and said impatiently, otherwise, who else could it be, if it wasn't yours? Parker almost burst out laughing. Qingqing is also too naughty, but he has successfully deciphered his daughter-in-law's code words. It seems that Qingqing wants to find Curtis in the sea, by the way. Now Bai Qingqing is at the bottom of the sea. He couldn't get down. Curtis was their only hope. In order to curry favor with Bai Qingqing, mermaids really do it all. He said he wanted to drink the fish soup of the skinny old princess. Lanzer immediately went ashore to find Lord Parker. I also intimately made a homemade thermal insulation bubble white. Qingqing saw Lanze come back. Hurriedly got up. See Parker. How is he? Lanze twisted his little face aggrievedly. He's fine. I also found a group of peacocks to besiege me. Bai Qingqing didn't have the heart to pay attention to him. He anxiously asked Lanze if he had told him Curtis. Speaking of which, Lanze was a little angry. He also asks Curtis if he is his tyrant. I can even forget my child's name. It's really bad. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but laugh secretly for 3 seconds. Then he pointed to the bubble in Lanze's hand and asked what it was. It's your food, Lanzer said as he poked the bubbles. Suddenly, a fish-scented cannonball exploded. Bai Qingqing sniffed the familiar smell. There is a little more warmth in my heart. He couldn't wait to pick up the bowl. Goo-goo. Lanzer watched as the female ate. Somehow, I was satisfied. Soon, Bai Qingqing drank a whole bowl of fish soup into his stomach. After eating and drinking, he's about to start his own plan. He's good. Move to the salmon. Can you do me a favor? Lanze stopped the hand that was trying to touch him. Asked God in a panic. What a busy you say. Wrap it around me. I'll do it for you. Bai Qingqing smiled playfully. Help me find a snake. As he spoke, he moved his left foot. Point the snake pattern to Lanze. It's my partner. He seemed to have fallen into the sea. It's nearby. Lanze was not happy to hear it. How to be a companion again? How many more companions do you have on land? Bai Qingqing pretended to be angry. Just 2 gangs don't help a word. If you don't help me, I'll fight. Lanze immediately panicked. Hurriedly said no problem. There are many snakes in the sea. What he looks like? How long and what color? Bai Qingqing said while gesturing. There are probably 2 nests. So long and so thick. And then according to the way Curtis was in his head, it's carefully described. Red eyes. The humanoid form is actually red-haired. By the way, he's a 4-striped beast. One heard that it was a 4-striped beast. Lanze was shocked. At the same time, it also raised the police. If you find the snake beast, what should he do if he wants to snatch Bai Qingqing? Can the leader fight? However, when it comes to them, merfolk have an advantage in numbers. It's reassuring. After the decision, he was about to leave to find Bai Qingqing immediately, but suddenly stop him and wait for you to find him. I've got you in for a surprise. In fact, what Bai Qingqing wanted was to tell him Qing's whereabouts. But Lanze's first reaction was, you're going to give me a little mermaid. Hear this. The fish soup that Bai Qingqing had just eaten squirted out. This was followed by a non-stop cough. Lanze kindly stepped forward and patted his back. But when the fingertips touched the smooth, silky skin of the female, I couldn't help but desert. I've never heard of a female with such slippery skin. It must be that they are afraid of scrambling and deliberately concealing it. Bai Qingqing took a while before he got his way. Okay, you go. You'll know then. So Lanze thought of a big surprise and set off. After Lanzer left, Bai Qingqing can finally feed the child with peace of mind. Feed and feed. Suddenly I felt a pair of eyes staring. The moment he turned his head to see Lanze, he was startled. Silly fish is still stupidly asking what people are doing. Bai Qingqing hurriedly turned his back. Angrily asked him how he came back if he didn't go to look for the snake. Lanze hurriedly explained that he had sent his clan to find it. As long as he's in this sea, even if it is buried in the earth, I can turn it out for you. Bai Qingqing heard such a reliable guarantee. Hurriedly thanked him. Who knows the next second? Silly fish continued the conversation again. You haven't told me what you're doing. Why give cubs to bite you? Bai Qingqing's old face turned red. How to explain this to an oviparous virgin? This kind of viviparous embarrassment is so embarrassing. The mermaid asked Bai Qingqing why he wanted to bite the leopard's chest. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to explain that he was feeding the child. Some orcs on land are like this. Lanze nodded instructively, sighed that it turned out that females still have this function. Suddenly and he asked the serpent, "It's the orc who stole you back then?" Bai Qingqing was shocked. Could it be that Curtis knew about taking the piano away? He hurriedly denied it in a panic. Lanze saw Bai Qingqing's reaction, more convinced. That partner of yours can dive for long periods of time. It's so powerful. It's not who else he is. But don't worry. I will do what I promised you. If only it were him. I'm not going to look for him. He wants to steal you, and will come back. Bai Qingqing was a little moved when she heard this. Immediately sent him a good guy card. But the emotion was shattered in just a second. I saw Lanze smile. Then you must communicate with me often in the future. Give me the most eggs. This year is older. You've had so many mermaids with him. You can look for a younger one. Just like me. Lanze kept poking his little hand after speaking. Just think about the good things. Bai Qingqing Han Yin. Mermaid female. It is more atmospheric than the flop of ancient emperors. A harem of hundreds of thousands. Meanwhile, Parker sat on the shore like a wife, waiting for his suit. A pair of golden eyes stared at the water. Motionless. Even if it's a little bit of sea breeze and waves. The leopards were overjoyed and thought it was their daughter-in-law who came out. Waited a long time. Finally waited for Lanze to come out. Parker immediately ran up to ask his daughter-in-law how she was. Lanze looked at the sunburned and sweaty leopard. There was no surprise in his eyes. The leopard beast sat facing the kelp all the time. He seemed to get it too. Why does Bai Qingqing like this leopard so much? It's him. Definitely not all the time. I've been chilling under the trees for a long time. At this point, Parker handed over the jar with the food. Lanze immediately reached out to pick it up. But the leopard suddenly withdrew that I wanted to see Bai Qingqing. Lanze reluctantly said that he couldn't be the master. Requires the approval of the leader. The ferocity in Parker's eyes could no longer be suppressed. Then let your princes agree. He is my partner. Lanze was tempted. Soft promised that Parker would talk to the chief. However, it is not certain whether they agree or not. Parker reluctantly hand the food into Lanzer's hands. After Lanzer returned to the sea, I went and found Kim. He told Jean that the leopard beast wanted to see Bai Qingqing. Originally, Lanzer did not hold out hope. Just as I was about to leave, I heard Kim say yes. Tomorrow at noon. Just don't let the females get snatched away. Lanze was a little surprised. It's all so wrong. Since the females came back, Kim was too cold to him. But Lanze just thought that Jean was complaining about the female. Leave him on the other side. Lanze sent a search team to find the snake beast. Found in a crack in the ocean floor. Soon they reported the news to Lanzer. Lanzer immediately came to check it out for himself. His brow furrowed. I wonder how to find here. This is the graveyard of the merfolk. I saw a blonde mermaid pointing down. There's a stone stuck there. There's an orc inside. Matches the orc you're looking for. Lanze followed the mermaid's pointing and looked inside. A stone was seen stuck in the middle of the crack. There was a faint red-haired figure inside the stone. He immediately swam forward. I saw it when I got closer. Isn't this the big guy in science? But Lanzer didn't know. He was still wondering how man got into the stone. Then he began to compare them one by one. Redhead, right? But he didn't see the beast print. Immediately no. I'm looking for the four-striped beast. The living man has become amber. Not a single line. That's what I'm going to see. Have you ever seen an amber with a handsome guy in it? That time Curtis was confused. In desperation, the whole body is wrapped in a tree branch to survive. Now he has become a beautiful man. The amber also rolled into a crack in the seabed. Lanze Shobai poured out his trust to find snakes and beasts. But he hadn't met Curtis. He is only known as a red-haired, silk-streaked beast. See the man in amber without animal tattoos. And he identified him. Not really. He fell in love with the transparent stone that encased the snake beast. I also thought that I would wrap myself in this after I died. After that, he thought he was kind enough to push him. That's it. Personally sent Curtis to the mermaid graveyard completely. When Bai Qingqing asked her if she had found the snake beast, she took it for granted and said no. Bai Qingqing, who didn't know, comforted himself. It's only been half a day, and it's still early. Lanze began to be suspicious. Curtis is not around at all. Bai Qingqing hurriedly explained anxiously. Make sure orcs and mates have sensing. I sensed that he must be nearby. So Lanzer said that he would continue to look for it. But he really didn't know where else to look, but was the first to exclude the cemetery. Because of the temperature there, no living thing can survive. At this time, Lanze saw Bai Qingqing wrapped the animal skin tightly. Hurriedly stepped forward and touched his forehead. Why do you keep shaking? My head isn't cold. Bai Qingqing complained helplessly. It's him Tedden. Hearing this, Lanze fell into deep thought. I really doubt that you are not in love now. Qingqing hurriedly said that he was really not. But after the stupid fish forcibly reasoned, said that she was only temporarily unaccustomed. After speaking, he hugged Bai Qingqing and wanted to be a quilt for her. The next day, the mermaid was awakened by the smell of stench. Bai Qingqing pointed to his son's masterpiece. Let Lanze help deal with it. The mermaid had to endure the nausea and pick up the powder. It's just that poop is too lethal. Almost sent away to the stupid fish. Even if the potty was picked up, Lanze still felt that there was a lingering fragrance in the air. So the 180-yard fishtail whirlwind was activated. Change the air in the nest. Lanzer is strange. Don't you think it stinks? The little leopard immediately whined and reminded him to speak well. Bai Qingqing hurriedly picked up his son. Say you're used to it. Suddenly, the leopard began to arch towards Bai Qingqing's chest. Bai Qingqing immediately understood that he was going to breastfeed. So he wanted to send Lanze out to get him food. The salmon leaned lazily against the wall. I'm not going today. Bai Qingqing is anxious. You have to regret it. Lanze sneered and forgot it. I wanted to surprise you. Yesterday I applied with the chief. It allows you to meet Parker. 1 yen. Bai Qingqing's eyes suddenly lit up. Can't wait to pick it up. We're about to go. Lanze made a calm gesture. I haven't informed Parker yet. For your safety, I'm going to let you meet on a small island. So Bai Qingqing asked to take him up to bask in the sun first. Lanze had a look of embarrassment, but he couldn't stand Bai Qingqing's pitiful appearance. I had no choice but to agree. Sure. Parker and Alva waited early in the morning at the old place. Greenhole is enthusiastic and close to Parker. Make a friend. We'll have a female in total. But Parker didn't bother. He was staring at the water. Suddenly, Parker spoke, and he told me about you. Hearing this, the green peacock was immediately excited. Really, Parker turned his head to look at him. Seriously, he doesn't like you. Watch you help me for my sake. It is advisable to change the pursuit of goals as soon as possible. There are other good-looking females. You can go around. These words darkened Alvid's face. He turned his head and said disdainfully, who else was more beautiful than him? And I'm not everyone's favorite either. Yesterday, I heard from one person to another. There is a female on the mainland who is as white as Bai Qingqing. The hair is still pretty blue. Here. Parker was shocked. Then he asked Alva excitedly, what does that female look like? Again, Alva honestly described it again. He was with a male of the Sanwen Yuan clan. Why are you making a feud? Why is the face so ugly? Parker was completely flustered. Oops, Qin must be going back to the mermaid clan. Qingqing is still down there. Qin will return. Bai Qingqing's crisis is imminent. Parker had wanted the green peacock to leave with him and the leopard cub. But so it goes. Parker is going to die. Weigh it up. Bai Qingqing decided to let Parker take the children first. Follow the mermaid back to the sea alone. On the occasion of parting, Parker grabbed him. The golden eyes were full of reluctance. You must come back safely. Bai Qingqing looked up at Parker's handsome face. Smile knowingly. I will. He just found out. I don't know when. Parker wasn't the first big boy he saw. Bai Qingqing hugged Parker. If you also have to take good care of our boys as they grow up. After saying that, he turned around and left. The leopards also seemed to know that their mother's trip is dangerous. Whimpering and crying at him, Lanze asked Bai Qingqing why he didn't take the cubs. Bai Qingqing's face was expressionless. They mess around in their nests. I don't want to bring it. In this way, Bai Qingqing was brought into the deep sea again. The family was separated, but they firmly believed. The family will soon be able to reunite again. Soon Bai Qingqing was brought back to the lair again. Although there is fine food to enjoy, but Bai Qingqing has no appetite at all. Now Lanze not only wants to coax Bai Qingqing to be happy, he also has to worry that other merfolk will covet him. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing went to Lanze's side. I have something to say to you alone. Can you let all the merfolk leave? Lanzer was overjoyed. Then he turned his head and told them all to go out. It's just that. Pity the mermaids who finally take turns to deliver food. The beauty who will be in the show right away is just missing. Lanze specially reminded Bai Qingqing that you can rest assured. To prevent guards from peeking, you forgot to guard the place they guarded. Motivation is invisible. After speaking, Lanze's heart was pounding. I thought that Bai Qingqing would drive away all the mermaids. Not even the cubs. You must be talking to me about the little mermaid. Bai Qingqing called Lanze softly. Silly Fish was immediately excited. Shouted that I was there. I only heard Bai Qingqing say cautiously. There's something I said. Don't be angry. Lanzer is strange. What will it be? He smiled and said as long as Bai Qingqing didn't leave. There's nothing good to live with. Bai Qingqing hung his head. That's not Qin. Lanze was stunned. What the situation? Tell the truth. He laughed. I know you are not Qin. Have you changed your name to Bai Qingqing? I'll call you this from now on. Bai Qingqing sighed. As for whether it is stupid or not. No, I'm not the female of your people. I am a land female. And I know what you said about Qin. It's blue hair. Looks beautiful. Here. Lanze said hello with a smile on his face. Bai Qingqing continued. He lives in a settlement on land called Wanshou City. The companion is the king of the alien race, King Yuan. Lanzer gradually believed. But the truth made him a little hard to accept. Bai Qingqing was stupid when he saw it. I'm worried. Busy asked him what was wrong. Suddenly, Lanzer collapsed and shouted that it was impossible. Jindu said that you were in love. Kinda said this. He remembered that something had been wrong with Kim lately. He is so in love. But he actually let me cultivate a good relationship with him. Bai Qingqing continued to explain that it couldn't be ended. You've brought me back. If he says I'm not, you're going to have to make sure you're not there. Then the female is exposed when she is gone. I promise to stay. It's because he threatens me with my cubs. Lanze thundered in his head. The seeds of suspicion suddenly grew into towering trees. Yes, Kim is so cold to Bai Qingqing. And let his land companion come to see him. If the love is fake, then it all makes sense. A moment of panic, fear, and despair filled Lanze's simple heart. He sat on the ground with strength. How could this be? So what do we do? Bai Qingqing was terrified. Lanze, listen to me. But Lanze was trapped in darkness and couldn't extricate himself. He kept muttering about extermination. It's going to be wiped out. Bai Qingqing's heart sank. The decision was made. I saw that he was angry and Dantian. Then he yelled at the head of the fish and listened to me. You're all right. Parker told me. Qin has returned. It's so exciting. The big guy is finally about to show up. Qin heard Bai Qingqing's name from the mermaid's mouth. Extremely excited. Bai Qingqing came here. The heart does not fight but asks if you know him. Gritted his teeth diligently. If it weren't for him. But the following words can only be said in the heart. If it weren't for him, I would have taken Vincent a long time ago. If you have the Vinaya, you don't have to go back to the sea. He changed his tune. He has a snake beast companion. It's the snake beast. They took me away from the sea. You must breathe this for me. I said mermaids. You say so. Doesn't conscience hurt? Obviously, it was your prison boss who took you away. But the uninformed Jean had no doubts about Qingqing's words. He clenched his fists suddenly. A blonde hair scattered in the water, without a trace. The snake beast was there too. This deep, chilling voice. Let Qin have a cold war for no reason. Yes, yes. Bai Qingqing is here. He's definitely there. When Yinjin turned around and told the others to send Qing back, he flicked his tail and swam to the other side. Qin hurriedly asked him where he was going. Su's eyes were full of fierce light, gritted his teeth and squeezed out 2 words to kill the snake beast. Qin suddenly felt that it was really difficult for his own man. In the end, I didn't forget to shout at Beijing. Kill Bai Qingqing as well. At this time, Lan Zhe was struggling to push the bubbles upstream. Bai Qingqing saw that he was still at the bottom of the sea for a long time. I complained that the old man told you to be closer to the coast. Lan Zhe looked innocent. What if you lie to me? Who knows if it's true? That's it. If Qi knows, I'll help you. I haven't played in my life. Bai Qingqing said that he was even more wronged. Now the partner is not found. His life is still in danger. Suddenly, Lanzer stopped his tail. Bai Qingqing hurriedly looked for his gaze. As a result, I looked up. I saw a dense half of the mermaids. Stopped in front. What's even more terrifying is that the surprise is also coming. Bai Qingqing suddenly felt bad. This is the end of the calf. At this time, Lan Zhe swam to the front. Protect Bai Qingqing behind him. How did you know I was here? Jean looked at the 2 of them and said coldly, Guess it's best to be Tibetan. I guess you don't dare to let Bai Qingqing go directly. Lanzer regretted it. He asked Kim if he really wanted to listen to love. Kill Bai Qingqing. Less nonsense. Hand him over to me, Kim said, and suddenly rushed towards the 2. Lan Zhe also turned around and pushed the bubbles to escape. But Kim's speed is surprisingly fast. The distance between the 2 fish is getting shorter and shorter. Lanzer knew that if he continued like this, he would soon be attacked. He made a ruthless decision. I saw him turn around, frontal to meet the fishtail. I didn't forget to push the bubbles hard. Bai Qingqing exclaimed Lan Zhe, but he could only watch the 2 mermaids fight. At this time, someone in the school of fish took the lead. He told us to kill him, and Lan Zhe was caught in the grappling and took care of himself. When you hear a voice, I have seen Bai Qingqing surrounded by a group of fish. Suddenly, an evil fish hand reaches out to Bubbles. Lan Zhe had a hunch that something was wrong. Immediately let go of the meridian and swam towards Bai Qingqing. The heart was also stunned. The fish are out of control. He yelled to stop, but it was too late. Pop, Bubbles burst. Seawater under pressure. Smashed into Bai Qingqing like a boulder. He could only watch as the water hit. Under the strong water pressure, Bai Qingqing had 7 tricks. Suddenly there was a rush of water. Even the internal organs are being squeezed. Just when he was about to suffocate, the snake mark on his leg suddenly lit up red. In a trance, a familiar figure flashed. Is it a near-death delusion? But I really want to see you again. Kurtisco. The big guy is back domineering. Bai Qingqing was finally saved. It is said that Bai Qingqing lost the protection of the mermaid bubble. Just look at it. Otherwise, Lan Zhe shouted for him to hold on. After that, he began to blow bubbles. But Kim is faster than him. The bubble of gold bursts. The seawater is close to Bai Qingqing. Quickly cover him. Only then did Bai Qingqing breathe proudly. Lan Zigong breathed a sigh of relief. The next second, his eyes widened in horror. A pair of red dolphins were reflected in their eyes. Straight to Jean to escape. Jean Wensheng looked sideways. I saw a huge basin biting at me. I want to escape. Was swept away by a giant tail. Jean bang. Slammed to the bottom of the sea. The dignified mermaid leader suddenly lost his temper. Red pythons don't love war. Down the whale and swam away. Soon, the snake body protected by Qingqing by his side. Has anyone found out? Curtis has gotten a lot bigger since he returned. A group of merfolk stared at the surface of the sea in horror. It's horrible. Who is this serpent beast? At this time, Curtis had swam to the surface with the cannon in his circle. Lanze saw Bai Qingqing unconscious from a distance. I was very worried. Anyway, it can't stay. Lanze gritted his teeth. A flick of the tail. He also swam up to the sea. The merfolk looked at the two figures and left. Look at each other. Then he returned to the leader. Ignoring the leader, he was still coughing up blood. A mermaid asked the leader anxiously, "What is the origin of that snake? Could it be that he just snatched the female snake beast?" The heart frowned. It seems so. Prepare for battle. There's a tough battle to be fought. On the other side, Bai Qingqing was in a misty chaos. Hear that familiar voice. Xiaobai, I'm back. You wake up and look at me. Xiaobai's eyes are trying to open. A moment of clarity. Bai Qingqing thought he was dreaming. Curtis saw Bai Qingqing's eyes open. The golden retriever excitedly rushed in front of the red retriever. Curtis was willing to concede. Immediately squeezed the leopard aside. He carefully helped Bai Qingqing up. Then he took him into his arms. The familiar cold embrace made Bai Qingqing suddenly sober up. He hurriedly looked up at Curtis. Suddenly something felt wrong. After confirming, he looked worried about Curtis. Why don't you have a beast print here? I saw Curtis's neck empty. The 4 beast patterns that had hit like sharp knives before were gone. Curtis was wondering how to explain. Bai Qingqing was worried for a while. Curtis managed to survive the dead. I don't know how much sin he suffered. Maybe he's seriously injured. The power is gone. The animal pattern disappeared. He must have been devastated. Seeing Bai Qingqing, he was about to cry. Curtis hurriedly explained, "Don't worry. I just broke through." Bai Qingqing broke through in surprise. "Did you break through from a 4-striped beast to a 5-striped beast?" The leopard listened, shocked and envious. I've always heard that there are grades with more than 4 lines. But no one has seen it. It turns out that there is no animal pattern on the top of the 4 lines. Bai Qingqing carefully confirmed. After getting Curtis's affirmative reply, a hanging heart fell smoothly. But the leopard on the side was angry. "I'm going to break through too." Curtis ignored him, doted on Qingqing's head. I have to say, after the return, Curtis really looks getting younger. The whole person seemed to be glowing, even if it's more beautiful than a mermaid. Nor will it count. This Bai Qingqing accidentally became a nymphomaniac. However, the red little face. But it made the 2 men think he was sick. He had no choice but to prevaricate. Said that the ears got water. Brain pain. Curtis didn't say a word. If you spit out, you will show him. Bai Qingqing was so frightened that he hurriedly got up. Just jump. The result is together. I saw a fish not far away. This fish looks a little familiar. I think I've seen it somewhere. Take a closer look. It's really salmon. Lanzelin saw Bai Qingqing. He smiled at Bai Qingqing. I'm coming for you. He is the most handsome mermaid under the sea. Now for Bai Qingqing, he actually left the sea to go ashore. But there's Curtis and Parker. Bai Qingqing is so easy to pursue. A white-skinned and beautiful adult male mermaid in front of him. The Curtis crisis index skyrocketed in an instant. Guarding an apricot. Hate can't strangle him immediately. Bai Qingqing said thank you under great pressure. At the bottom of the sea, thanks to you. What happened to those merfolk? Lanze looked at him left and right. I didn't dare to go back. You have to talk the talk. Be responsible for me. As soon as I heard this, Curtis immediately looked at Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing, who was in charge, hurriedly turned his head. Cold sweat flowed. Then he told Lanze that with a guilty face, I'll help you pursue a female you like. Lanze was shocked and lost. There was a hurt look in his eyes. You're lying to me again. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but argue. Except this time. When did I lie to you? But seeing Lanze being deceived and helpless, he was pitiful. Bai Qingqing was still a little unbearable. He swore an oath class to Lancer to promise. I will definitely help you be happy. Land females are good, although not as beautiful as love, but only a few companions. You can be by your partner's side every day. This successfully piqued Lance's interest, but he remembered the terrestrial females he had seen. One more eye. Yes, but not uglier than you. Otherwise, I will die on you. Hearing this, Cuddiston was furious. How dare I say it? I'm tired of you. Thanks to Bai Qingqing's timely appeasement. Otherwise, I might have eaten grilled fish tonight. Lanze was also so frightened that he hugged the little tail. But a mouth just can't help it. Land males are really violent. How could a female like such a vulgar guy? Curtis was about to kill him. Fortunately, Bai Qingqing turned the tide. Stopped the tragedy from happening. Just when they were messing around, Parker suddenly thought of leopard boy Qingqing. Let's go pick up the cubs from the Peacock clan. They didn't eat for half a day. Must have been hungry and crying. Hear that the child is starving. Bai Qingqing immediately pounded the leopard. Why haven't you found a female leopard for them yet? Suddenly, Curtis's voice came to my ears. The cub Bai Qingqing's heart suddenly rose to his throat. I gave birth to a litter of leopards. It's been more than half a month. Curtis could see Bai Qingqing's nervousness. He smiled and said it was good. Take me to see it. Curtis's reaction surprised Bai Qingqing. Okay, he let out a sigh of relief. Thankfully, at this time, 3 leopard cubs are having fun under the care of peacocks. When I saw my mother coming, rushed over. Bai Qingqing hugged his sons tightly. Tears of joy. Curtis looked at the leopard cub. Praise is good. Very strong. Parker immediately boasted that it was. This is my cub. Just when the two were arguing, the mermaid behind him was about to collapse. You are going to take the noble merfolk. Have you been hanging here? Look at me. I'm almost dehydrating an adult fishing rod. As soon as the words are finished, suddenly I turned my head and saw a small river in my dream. Lanze hurriedly writhed forward like a maggot. He kept muttering about water, 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 water. He bounced excitedly. I thought that what was waiting for me was pleasant. However, there was a sound of falling overboard, only to find that the water is so shallow that even the fish can't cover it. What a dead fish. Then, Bai Qingqing proposed to leave the peacock tribe and go somewhere else. But Curtis let him stay here for a while. I have to take care of some things myself. Bai Qingqing hurriedly asked what was the matter. Curtis looked in the direction of the sea. My eyes wrinkled, and it was time for my grudge with the merfolk to be settled. This sentence is given to this Madame Bella of the Peacock clan. Heaven has a way you don't go. Hell has no door, you go away. Anyway, Bella has seen so many handsome guys. In the confident open call for the first mate, soon a flock of peacocks lined up in front of him, but he didn't even want to look at it. On the contrary, Bai Qingqing was attracted by the beautiful peacock tail. Parker hurriedly blocked his view. Alva remembered his bald feathers. Low self-esteem. He was pulled into lanes unmoved. Thought he hadn't heard. Then he stepped forward with pride. Males in the water. Do you think I'm beautiful? As soon as this statement came out, the air was suddenly quiet. Because the males know it. The merfolk are notoriously picky. Sure enough, in Lanze's eyes, Bella and sausage-mouth fish can't be said to be unrelated. It can only be said that it is exactly the same. Listen to Lanze. Who you are beautiful, are you insulting my aesthetics? I lanes have no females in my life. It won't be so casual. As he spoke, he turned away. Bella was annoyed. You talk nonsense. I'm the most beautiful female in my tribe. Lanziyu is not shocking and dies. It turns out that you are the most beautiful in the family. I thought it was a female that no one wanted. These words were like 5 thunderbolts exploding in Bella's head. How could he have suffered such humiliation? A sense of shame pushed his feet away in a hurry. Fortunately, there are also peacock males in hot pursuit, so that he will not go down into the river. That's all. Bai Qingqing also began to worry about being so picky. When will you get married? Who are you marrying? No, no, No. In case the daughter gives birth to a person in the future, it will be embarrassing for the people. Fortunately, a voice interrupted Bai Qingqing's thoughts. It turned out to be Curtis back. He immediately ran to his lover excitedly. Curtis, you're back. Curtis replied softly. Well, by the way, took a little salt. It's enough to eat for a long time. Let's go. In the next second, the three of them asked where to go in unison. Curtis was seen looking his head to one side. Comfortable place. All eyes followed. In front of you, a majestic mountain stands in the distance. Alva hurriedly asked where you were going. Do you want to leave the end of the sea? With that, he looked back at the cloth. Luo struggled for a while, and suddenly took a sharp breath, and I will go too. I'm going to follow you. Bai Qingqing wanted to persuade him not to be impulsive. Suddenly picked up by Curtis. Curtis then turned back and looked at Green Fear. Don't follow me. I hate to fly. Alva was shocked. The snake beast's eyes just now were definitely full of murderous intent. The fear of strength made him dare not lift his feet again. But after a moment he made up his mind again. I won't give up again this time. Also suffering is Lanze. He was already severely dehydrated. It's about to be covered. Parker glared at him impatiently and stopped acting. You've drunk water 5 times. Lanze began to play tricks on me. I'm already thirsty for a fishing rod. You stinky leopard. There is no bestiality. It's very bad, it's sick. Several people moved on. Leave a word. Land is not for you. Go back to your ocean. The stupid fish in a hurry immediately drew 2 legs to follow. I'm glad you agreed to help me find a daughter-in-law. The sound of conversation woke up the leopard. Parker said as he looked at his sons dotingly. The little ones are hungry so quickly. Qingqing hurriedly said that he was also hungry. It was also proposed to find a river to rest for a while. Hear the river. Lanze's eyes lit up. Then began Mephisu. Curtis and Parker. Kiki was born. Soon the fools came to a river. Lanze jumped into the water with a bang. Brought back to life. Curtis and Parker managed to get splashed in water. The 2 of them attacked the stupid fish with their eyes in unison. But the fish was too stupid to notice it. Is also ambitious to shout that he wants to soak in water for the rest of his life. Never come out again. At this point, Parker got up to go hunting. Ignore him. But Curtis has been unhappy with this fish for a long time. He took a stand against the stupid fish. It's rare that we can think of it together. I wouldn't mind helping you out. Fortunately, Bai Qingqing tried his best to dissuade him. Save the life of the stupid fish. Then, newborn calves that are not afraid of tigers are attracted to snake tails. Curtis was. It was also the first time that he took the initiative to approach. He looked at the 3 leopard cubs with a delighted expression. At this moment, a leopard cub puts its feet on the snake. Another one even gnawed on his mouth. This soft and glutinous touch. Curtis's heart couldn't help but flutter. He spat out apricots. Such a delicate little thing secretly said in my heart. It is most suitable to be typical. Curtis is evil. He actually wanted to treat Bai Qingqing's cub as a snack. Come here. Bai Qingqing's voice made Curtis wake up immediately. The 3rd child, who eats leftovers all year round, heard his mother's voice. Quietly Mimi walked away. Bai Qingqing still wondered why you were the only one. It doesn't matter that much. While no one is seeing. Feed one, count one. Soon the sound of cooing milk reached the other 2 ears. It's time to open the meal. The sound is like a rice bell. The 2 leopard cubs' eyes lit up suddenly, whining and running towards Bai Qingqing. Curtis also managed to be attracted. The moment you see clearly. Curtis was shocked. He immediately got up and was in combat mode. I saw him flutter. In an instant, the 2 on the way to the milk were scared and ran away. Soon the one that was suckling was also picked up. Curtis stared at the leopard cub. Angry. Poor little Junior. I don't know what I've done wrong. After 2 sobs, he began to open his mouth and cry. Suddenly, Curtis stared at the leopard cub's open mouth. It turned out that he found that the leopard cub had no teeth. At this time, Bai Qingqing stretched out his hand. Curtis, why don't you give me the cubs quickly? Curtis weakly spat out 2 words. He bites you. Bai Qingqing hurriedly explained to him that this was called breastfeeding. Don't you have a passing on skill? I don't even know about this. But Curtis said, the daughter-in-law of the snake beast has always relied on fakes, not interested in other races. But, in the future, his descendants will inherit this skill. Bai Qingqing was speechless. How did it suddenly become a popular science textbook? Then Bai Qingqing continued to feed. Milk. Curtis, on the other hand, did not change his face. The heart is not beating and observes. From time to time, I still say things that are big and small. Lan Zhe listened to the conversation between the two in the grass and the water. Confused, curiosity drove him closer to the grass. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing yelled, you have your swimming. Don't come here. These words made this fish who had not passed the rebellious period. I plan to go ashore directly. But the fish is just 1 second out of the water. I slipped back unconsciously. Sure enough, for a fish, nothing compares to a soaking tank. Because Curtis stepped in sideways. The 2 poor little ones never ate. And Curtis was still pestering Bai Qingqing to ask questions. Some straight guy questions to ask. Made Bai Qingqing blush without stopping. The 2 leopard cubs are hungry with their chests pressed against their backs. Crying at my mother. Bai Qingqing asked in every way. Curtis then stopped and asked her to feed the baby. A hungry leopard cub is not careful. Scratched Bai Qingqing. Curtis was furious. Stretch out your big paws. I'm going to catch the culprit who hurt my daughter-in-law. Where has the leopard seen such a fierce uncle? I immediately cried. Bai Qingqing immediately turned into a calf protector mother. Shouted Curtis. Don't do that. You scared him. The snake beast was stunned. The daughter-in-law no longer loves herself as much as she used to. I'm already thinking about it. It's time to regenerate a litter of snakes to compete for favor. After feeding the child, the 2 returned to the river. Lan Zhe suddenly kept staring at Kurdistan. After a long time, I finally asked the begging word, hey, serpent beast, you are alive or dead? How did Bai Qingqing speak in anger? You're the one who dies. Lanzer recalls the first time he met Curtis. Keep running away. I had seen him turn to stone in his grave. These words reminded Bai Qingqing. He also kept wondering what happened to Curtis. Curtis suddenly lowered his eyes. Begin to fall into memories. That's when the monsters wanted to kill you. So I drove them all. After the battle, I felt like I was going to break through the mountains. There was another fire. I hid myself in a branch. When it is dry, it becomes stone. Bai Qingqing stretched out his hand to comfort him in distress. I know that the fire is put by the fungus. And what about later? This mermaid is poisonous. Bai Qingqing was just chatting with his partner and was seen by him. Then he forcibly took him back to the sea. In the end, he almost hit Parker. It's just to amuse himself with his daughter-in-law on his shore. Then the daughter-in-law was snatched away by him. In the end, he almost became an official. The unluckiest of all was Curtis. Finally killed a British beast to level up. I'm waiting in amber to turn it on again and find my daughter-in-law. As a result, Lan Zhe casually pushed it, fell directly into the cemetery, and was forced to sleep. Listen to Curtis recount his thrilling experiences. Bai Qingqing was distressed. Even Lan Zhe on the side was a little moved. Snakes are probably also heat-sensitive species. Even if you hide it in a stone, it will be very hot. Sure enough, it deserves to be a rank above Sven. His horror is not only in combat effectiveness. It's more about willfulness and endurance. Terrible species. Be careful in the future. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but blame himself and shed tears. Good thing you're okay. I'm sorry. Curtis kissed Qingqing's hair to comfort him from crying. It's not uncomfortable, it's hot. Later, a strand of beams was wrapped. I didn't feel uncomfortable. After speaking, he hugged Bai Qingqing's forehead. You saved me. In the mountains is the bottom of the sea. Bai Qingqing couldn't understand why he said that. See here. I don't really understand. Curtis when he was roasted by fire in the mountains. How did the sudden cool coat come about? So I went back and looked at it again. After Curtis wrapped himself in a twig that day. Bake over fire. Bai Qingqing suddenly sensed that his tongue was hot. Guess it might be Curtis who had an accident. Bai Qingqing was in a very bad mood. Then, Bella came again to urge her to hurry up and make zungzi. Bai Qingqing didn't roar for a moment. He threw pine nuts at her. Then, Alva, who is still chasing Bella, is going to stand up for Bella. Push him into the water in one fell swoop. Bai Qingqing was pressed. So the power of the partner is used. Threw Alva into the water. By then, however, Curtis had already had an accident. So he only used Parker's power. But Parker's power is limited. Caused Bai Qingqing to fall into the water entirely. So the snake print was soaked in water. It also successfully helped Curtis cool down. As for the time at the bottom of the sea, Curtis is asleep, suffering from the bitter cold. After that, Bai Qingqing flooded. Life hangs by a thread. Companion sensing is successful. Activated Curtis in a dormant state. That's why Curtis said, Bai Qingqing not only rescued him on the mountain, the seabed too. Of course, this also involves a martial beast's heaven-defying skill. There are spoilers for those who know. The 5 beasts came straight this way. There was also a woman strapped to the tiger's back. Parker's side picks up Alva. A reminder. Embattled. Bai Qingqing also hid in the depths of the cave with the cub in his arms. Parker saw the woman on the tiger's back from afar. Starts speculating. Such a heavy rain just let the female get drenched. It's crazy. They're strays. Wait, right. Stray beasts act alone. But there were 5 beasts over there. As he spoke, the beast had reached the entrance of the cave. Parker and Alva immediately put into combat form. The tiger and wolf looked at each other, lunging at them. Parker didn't feel good. The comers are not good. These 5 beasts are all at the level of the 3-striped beast. To know, the 3-pattern beast is a rare powerhouse in the city of 10,000 beasts. Encounter the team of the 3-striped beast outside. It's really unlucky. Now we can only stall for time. Looking forward to Curtis's return soon. Parker thought. He had already swooped towards the 5 beasts. A fast 2-striped peacock. Didn't react. Lanze immediately saw that something was wrong. Parker was okay against 1. 2 are barely enough. But there are 3 more there. By this time, Parker had already reached the tiger beast. But the other orcs yawned and yawned. Licking hands of licking hands. It seems that Parker is not taken seriously at all. Although Lanze is also a 3-striped beast. But he is better at fighting in the water. He hurriedly asked the peacock to take Bai Qingqing and the cub. Fly into the air. Alva was helpless to this kind of heavy rainy day. I can't even fly myself. I'm not a hawk. Bai Qingqing, who was in the cave, heard movement outside. Get worried. Parker will be fine. What happened to Lanzer? Hear the female's voice. The eyes of the 5 fierce beasts suddenly lit up. Extremely excited. Parker immediately became alert. They must not be allowed to see Qingqing. Desire to protect multiplies Parker's strength. One bite bites the wolf beast's neck. Bai Qingqing, who did not know the situation, was now in fear and uneasiness. At a loss. Lanze stood guard at the entrance of the cave. Is also struggling to make up for the beast power that rushed into the hole. I didn't expect Lanze, who was used to the resistance in the water. In the air, speed and force are multiplied. In 3 or 2 clicks, the wolf beast will be killed. Lanze was still distressed about his soiled little hands. Suddenly, the green peacock turned his head in panic. Watch out for salmon and sideways glances. I saw it in the blue pupils. The figure of a large brown bear, approaching at a rapid pace, is reflected. Don't wait for Lanzer to react. The brown bear had hit him in the chest. In the next second, the big brown bear pushed Lanzer. Smashed into the hole like a cannonball. It wasn't until Lanzer slammed into the wall that he stopped. That's all. Lanzer was covered in scars. Drink blood nonstop. Suddenly, Lanze noticed the oppression and raised his eyes. Moment. The big brown bear was already raising its thick arms to slap him to death. At the last moment, Bai Qingqing shouted no. The female's voice stunned the brown bear. It really stopped. Bai Qingqing trembled and begged no. Don't hurt her. Please. See the female begging so much. The brown bear was a little undecided for a while. Just in the moment when she was stunned, the leopard has galloped over. When she reacted and wanted to run away, Parker's sharp fangs. It had bitten on her neck. Soon the brown bear loses its vitality. Fall with your head up. The moment when he was about to hit the ground, the leopard jumps away with agility. Smoothly landed in front of Bai Qingqing. Then he turned his head and protected his daughter-in-law behind him. Soon the remaining orcs lined up in the cave. Although the other party was killed and injured, but the disadvantage of one enemy 3 is still obvious. Worse, the brown bear that had just been bitten did not die because of its thick skin. It exploded again with hatred. Parker didn't give up and bit down on the brown bear again. Seeing this, the fox and the jackal immediately pounced to help. Lanze was too badly injured to move. Bai Qingqing is even more incapable of fighting. Look at this scene. Bai Qingqing's heart tightened. Lanze wanted to crawl towards Bai Qingqing while they weren't paying attention. Who knew that the tiger beast couldn't intervene when he saw it? Turning his head, he stared at the salmon. Unaware, Lanze was still trying to connect with Bai Qing. The sound of the big doctor's tiger hooves landing directly stunned him. The tiger beast raised its head and bared its fangs to end the fish. Critical moments. Bai Qingqing appeared. Protected Lanze behind him. He didn't mean to sacrifice himself to save others. It's just that he knows that these orcs don't kill females. Bai Qingqing mustered up the courage to say goodbye. Don't kill him. A fierce blow from the tiger beast. Lived for decades. It was also the first time he had seen a female protect a male. Bai Qingqing secretly glanced at the tiger beast's reaction. Go on with you. But that's not the end of the story. The tiger's mouth still bit on his slender hand. Sharp teeth dig deep into the muscles. Through the screen, you can feel the pain of 10,000 arrows piercing your heart. Bai Qingqing let out a scream of pain. Parker immediately turned his head to look at Bai Qingqing when he heard the sound. The wolf seized the leopard doppelganger. Pounced. One bite on the leopard's ribs. Bai Qingqing saw that Parker was injured. Distressed and helpless. Because he himself is still in the mouth of the tiger and cannot get out. He endured excruciating pain. Isn't that what you want about females? I'll go with you. Let them go. As soon as this statement came out, the tiger beast froze again. The look of disbelief carried an indescribable shadow. Suddenly, a slender black shadow hit the wall. The tiger beast was attracted to the shadow. Slowly, the shadow is getting bigger and bigger. The beast immediately looked out uneasily. It's so good that Curtis is finally back. Kushan is out. Sheet armor is not left. It is said that the Parker trio lost the battle against the martial beast. Even Bai Qingqing was bitten on the arm by the tiger beast. At this time, Big Brother Ku appeared like a god descending. The moment I saw my daughter-in-law hurt, Curtis's red eyes lit up red. He spat out the letter. The anger around him seemed to be visible to the naked eye. The tiger beasts suddenly felt creepy. Curtis at this time is like the Grim Reaper itself. The sharp director is like the scythe of death. Shadow shrouded in darkness. Only the eyes full of murderous intent were clearly visible. Thinking of the daughter-in-law's tears and bleeding wounds, Curtis receives the line lead. Boom. Full screen of black and red. The battle is over. When they looked again, the beasts had already abandoned in a pool of blood. Curtis was unscathed. It's fast. Even the tail didn't keep up with the rhythm. Slowly, everyone hurriedly walked towards Bai Qingqing. Looking at Bai Qingqing's wounds, the three men were distressed. Parker's expression looked like he was about to cry. Oh my God, you're not going to die. Bai Qingqing glanced at the injury on Parker's waist. Say I'm okay. You take care of your injuries first. Parker, on the other hand, said he was a male. It doesn't matter if it hurts. Curtis looked at Bai Qingqing's wounds. How could this be the case with unstoppable hand tremors? Here's how it goes. Bai Qingqing remembered the situation just now. I have palpitations. We didn't know the orcs were coming all of a sudden. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing remembered something. Parker, go and see how the female is doing. Seeing that Parker had no intention of moving, Bai Qingqing wanted to get up and go by himself. Parker couldn't help it. Only then did he reluctantly walk towards the outside of the cave. Bai Qingqing asked Curtis again. You didn't see a female when you came in? Curtis was stunned and said he hadn't noticed. Bai Qingqing was speechless. Okay. Blame me for not asking him. He then asked about Lanzer's injuries. Lanze hurriedly said that he was fine. Let him not worry. After everything is confirmed. Bai Qingqing relieved himself at this time. Suddenly, there was a shrill cry from a female outside. It turned out that Parker was carrying the female back. The female's hands are tied behind her back with thorny rattans. There were shocking scars all over his body. Bai Qingqing saw Shi Jing's mouth wide. Oh my God. How so? It's horrible. He was terrified. If Curtis hadn't come just now, he is not immune to such abuse. He couldn't bear to look at it anymore. Turned around. Curtis saw Bai Qingqing like this. It's very distressing. He gently hugged Bai Qingqing. Axe comfort. I thought that in the future, I could only let Parker stop practicing. Can't let Xiaobai. Once again, they are in such danger. Parker then untied the female's hands. Bai Qingqing squatted down. Softly asked, how are you? Can you tell me what's going on? But the females are in fear. As if I didn't hear it. Bai Qingqing. He also tried to pull up the scarred hand. The moment of contact. The female's expression became frightened. Dark face. His pupils widened suddenly, and he doubled. The body that looked weak suddenly burst out with a strong force. Push Bai Qingqing. With a bang, Bai Qingqing fell to the ground. Curtis and Parker exclaimed in unison. Bai Qingqing's Shura field again. The next time he opened the story, Parker was in a bad mood. Bai Qingqing. I just want to make Parker happy. So he scratched his itchy flesh wildly. Ah, Parker laughed straight to tears and begged for mercy. Bai Qingqing saw that the effect was good, so he was ready to stop. But Parker suddenly put his arm around her little waist. Then he hugged her directly to his body. The two came to stare closely. Parker swore an oath to celebrate. I'm never going to let you get into that situation again. Bai Qingqing was shocked. It turned out that Parker was not protecting himself. Only to blame myself and feel sad. Qingqing replied with a smile like a flower. I know. Sure enough, the best consolation is trust. Parker looked at such a celebration. The mood suddenly brightened. The two flirted and scolded the salmon on the side. He thought to himself, is this the trick of land males to please females? The stinky leopard has a lot of tricks. Hey, is it outdated to send tokens? Suddenly there was a loud bang. A prey slammed down on the trio. When I looked up, I saw Curtis standing there expressionlessly. Long red hair with no wind pillars. His eyes lit up and his fangs came out. The look on Curtis's face was gloomy and cold. Roll off the roast. Bai Qingqing wanted to explain something. However, the two men had already begun to make eye contact. Shiro softly and weakly shouted not to fight. But it's not a big deal to watch the lively salmon. But there was a twinkle in expectant little eyes. Parker thought it had been too long since he had faced Curtis. Just to test the strength of the martial beast. So he planned to take advantage of his greatest speed. Let's do a rush attack. Curtis faces a menacing leopard. Still as steady as an old dog. Yes, completely. I didn't look like I was in my eyes at all. He silently flashed his electric eyes and fangs. Said coldly, give me some comfort. After 0.01 seconds, Parker honestly went to the barbecue. Lan Zhe's sigh was really miserable. I know that I will be crushed, but I have to be hard. In order to be recognized by females. It's a gamble with your life. Bai Qingqing looked at Parker's lonely back. Some animals. Parker. He's fine. Soon the meal was ready. Bai Qingqing hurriedly sent it to the female inside while it was hot. The female saw someone coming. Instinctively shrank back. Bai Qingqing didn't dare to get too close. The tone is also extremely gentle. I'm hungry. Eat first. Look at the steaming broth. The female swallowed unconsciously. He hadn't had a full meal in a long time. But even so, he didn't mean to accept it. Bai Qingqing didn't know what to do for a while. But he found that the female's eyes were always fixed on the bowl. So Bai Qingqing planned to try again. He reached out to the female's hand with a quick movement. The female looked horrified again. There was also a whining sound in his mouth. Bai Qingqing gently put her hand on the edge of the bowl. The mouth kept reassuring, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's okay. We won't hurt you. It's already safe." I don't know if Qingqing's smile is too warm, or the words are too soft. The female's frightened expression gradually calmed down. She even felt Bai Qingqing's eyes. I have been checking it for a long time. She picked up the bowl and drank it in a big gulp. Bai Qingqing secretly asked himself in his heart, what the hell have you been through? It shouldn't just be as simple as being violated. Can make a female who has no concept of chastity. It became like this. In addition to physical abuse, there must be mental torture. Or more cruel. Jean Bai Qingqing's patient guidance. The female has already dared to come out of the cave. Bai Qingqing told him. Outside, these are their own cases. So that he has nothing to fear. The female looked warily at the pile. Red and blue hair that doesn't eat hot food is normal. It's just that the golden retriever is performing devouring. This rude move scared people to take 2 steps with great difficulty. Retreated again. Bai Qingqing's face made up his mind together. Then he strode towards the leopard. The stupid leopard who didn't know it was still holding the fish in his mouth. Fight with mermaids. When I looked up, I saw that Qingqing's expression was wrong. The two are still speculating about who will be unlucky. Boom, the answer is out. Parker cried and chirped with his shiny bag. Qingqing, what did I do wrong? Bai Qingqing was angry and let him think for himself. At this time, Bai Qingqing was telling Parker not to cook in the future, so as not to get stuck in the female. Kurdistan on the side was displeased. I was reluctant to let my daughter-in-law do this. An unfamiliar female actually made the daughter-in-law work hard and hard. So he told the newspaper to find a tribe to send him out. It's an eyesore to look at. Well, this comic style has changed dramatically. Officials gave an explanation. If you're interested, you can pause and take a look. In short, Bai Qingqing became like this. Curtis became like that. Parker became like that. Let's just say let's not watch it yet. Let's take a look at it today. Speaking of Bai Qingqing, the crowd came to the outside of a tiger tribe. Ready to come, Parker hurriedly explained his intention. Big brothers, don't be nervous. We brought toll fees. This girl is for you. As soon as the female arrives at the realm, she begins to flutter. Seems to be scared of this place. Several tiger beasts hesitated and did not dare to step forward. Suddenly, a bold one went up and sniffed. The female was so frightened that she immediately wanted to run. Run in, Parker, and hold tightly. Suddenly, Parker's eyes widened. It turned out to be a tiger beast. Rushed at him with a fierce momentum. The speed was so fast that it almost knocked Bai Qingqing down. Luckily, Curtis showed up just in time. By this time, Parker had fled to the trees. He eagerly asked Bai Qingqing if he was okay. I'm okay, Parker. What about the female? Turn your head. It was found that the female had been taken aside by a tiger beast. The female screams, Becky. It's me, it's Ford. What happened to you? You don't know me anymore. Bai Qingqing listened to the male. The words suddenly came to mind. It turns out that this is his tribe. He whispered to Curtis. It would be nice to be able to send him back to his original tribe. We saved him. His companions would certainly have treated us well. However, what came to my ears was to arrest a few of them. When he said that, the tiger beasts grinned their teeth. Roar at them. Curtis hurriedly asked Bai Qingqing to hide behind him. Bai Qingqing looked flustered. They misunderstood. It was Curtis who snatched the females of their clan. He hurriedly explained the situation. Don't get me wrong. We saved him at the hands of other orcs. This is my partner. I won't rob you females. As he spoke, he pointed out the beast pattern to them. But the guy named Ford said with disgust, "You even accept that there is little wandering. Don't you know how cruel they are?" Bai Qingqing's domineering skin-care stray beasts also have good companions. At least my partner is. And it wasn't the stray beasts who took him captive. It is 5 orcs of different races. They should all be dissolved. At this time, the leopards made a begging cry. Thereupon, Bai Qingqing said to Curtis and Parker, "Let's go." That's when it happened. A woman called for the cub to come over. "Becky, my cub?" The woman burst into tears. He looked at Becky with a distressed expression. Suddenly, Becky's eyes became fierce. He was yelling at the woman to get out of the way. Ford on the side hurriedly reassured Becky not to be afraid. "He's your mother. You're back. No one will hurt you anymore." Becky pointed sharply at the woman. Fiercely said it was him. "It's his companion. Killed my partner. Took me. Also with other orcs. Torture me together." Becky received here. Painful memories came to mind. The helplessness and despair of the time soon enveloped him. A pair of emerald eyes, instantly filled with tears. Bai Qing gently covered his mouth. Bathan never expected it. The culprit turned out to be his mother's former partner. The beasts on the side listened. Angry glared at the woman. Women were also devastated. Weak legs. Kneel on the ground. A pair of eyes looked at her daughter, with some guilt and regret. But that's it. The damage has been done. And so what? Bai Qingqing's eyes were teary. It's so pitiful to be. Curtis saw this. "I want to take Bai Qingqing away. Let's go." The Ford tattoo behind him looked over. "Wait, thank you for saving Becky. If you don't have a place to live, come to our tribe." But the rest of the orcs immediately objected. "Ford has a stray companion. What if you attract other stray beasts? Ford doesn't care what you're afraid of. It's just a snake beast without a beast pattern." Bai Qingqing covered his mouth and stole fun. "Hearts want to know it. Curtis is a grade of 4 or higher. I'm afraid I'll be scared to death." Just when they needed a place to live. So Bai Qingqing accepted it with a smile. This smile suddenly made several men cry. The heartbeat is so beautiful. Soon Ford broke the news to the whole family. 23 females with more than 300 males. "I heard that it was the stray beast that saved Becky." Everyone ran out to watch. The people of this tribe live in tree hollows. There are also a lot of ropeways between the trees. Ford gave them a family of 3. A tree hole was also arranged. Bai Qingqing was finally able to lie on a soft grass bunk. Have a good rest. At this time, the leopard cub was already very hungry. Towards the mother's little grape and bite it hard. Bai Qingqing suddenly sighed in pain. Bai Qingqing has a long ability. He slapped Curtis in the soft face. Done. A kick slammed into Parker's already young lad head. Why? Spoilers for knowing. Due to the fact that this section is more exciting, it is recommended to look at the original picture of the manga. Bai Qingqing was having a family meeting. Since the leopard cub has teeth, Parker recommends weaning. Bai Qingqing was afraid that the leopard cub would be strained. It is recommended that the full moon will be broken again. The two disagreed. Bai Qingqing asked Curtis what he meant again. Curtis didn't speak. He picked up the leopard in his arms and threw it at Parker. Bai Qingqing looked at his sons who were waiting to be fed, and he was so distressed. He asked Curtis, "Why don't you feed me?" Curtis snorted. So Bai Qingqing Xiaoji persuaded with emotion. The leopards are also very cooperative. Cast a pitiful gaze. Curtis's ghost made the god a little soft-hearted for a while. So he handed Bai Qingqing a bowl. Let him squeeze it out for the leopard to drink. Suddenly, a cool apricot swept across Bai Qingqing's ear. Bai Qingqing was so ashamed that his face turned red, and the boy was still there. The leopards listened. Immediately cooperated with my mother to boil twice. But Daddy concealed them with a bowl of milk. Bai Qingqing collapsed. This group of rebels who want milk and don't want mothers. Curtis leaned behind Bai Qingqing's ear. Ask softly if you have given birth to a cub and have not come to relatives yet. Bai Qingqing stupidly gave the red-haired science popularization. Just keep milking. Relatives don't go to work. Hear the words. Curtis smiled meaningfully. Then let them eat for a few more days. After saying that, he kissed him affectionately. It turns out that the pregnancy rate of snakes and beasts is extremely high. He was reluctant to celebrate the pain of childbirth. So I've always been very restrained. Bai Qingqing was still a little moved. Suddenly, he was knocked down. That's when Parker came back with his prey in his mouth. Hear the voice of the tree hollow. A leopard's heart is cold. But for Curtis's sake, he still endured it silently. In fact, the main thing is that it can't be beaten. Until the 3 ends of the sun, he woke up Qingqing. Immediately, a bowl of bird soup was served to supplement his nutrition. Bai Qingqing said happily. Curtis thought of a way to keep himself breastfeeding. Parker put away his smile. I know when I came into the house last night. The snake beast told me. Bai Qingqing looked at the leopard's expression. Guessing he bumped into them yesterday and couldn't beat them. He quickly pulled away from the topic, Parker. Do you know? There are 5 floors above and below this tree. Except for the first layer. The others have doors shot in different directions. Yesterday, Tsai accidentally fell to the first floor. He still laughs all the time. I'm scared to death. Who knows what to say? The leopard is even more melancholy. Know that the serpent beast haunted you yesterday. Occupies a tree hole. I could only take the boy to the 3rd floor of water. So Qingqing continued to talk about something else. That's right, Lancer. Speaking of which, the leopard finally smiled. That guy arrived yesterday. Almost made a fishing rod. Now lives in a watering hole in the center of the tribe. Bai Qingqing immediately asked him to take him to have a look. The tribal center watering hole is particularly large. Lanze can finally have a good soak. As soon as he saw Bai Qingqing, he began to complain about Bai Qingqing. You finally came to see me. The females here are so annoying. This mermaid is so annoying. As a salmon. And long and handsome. Entangled by a dozen females every day. Even a yawn can cause a female to go crazy. Bai Qingqing quipped. Now you can choose whatever you like. Lanze didn't want it with a disgusted face. The females were ugly and black. Then he leaned forward. Ambiguously said that I was too lazy to look for it. You let me be your male. Forget it. The wall quickly dodges away. It turned out to be a leopard coming with a fist. Parker yelled at the merfolk viciously. Keep him away from his daughter-in-law. Bai Qingqing leisurely comforted Parker and didn't get angry. We'll go to the big tribe to find him. Suddenly, a female voice came from you. Are you Bai Qingqing? I turned my head and saw a cute girl with big eyes. My father was the patriarch of the Tiger clan. He invited you to my house. Soon, Bai Qingqing dragged the family and followed the female to his house. The Tiger clan patriarch is a middle-aged sandman named Will. As soon as they met, kindly asked them if they are in the habit of living. Bai Qingqing replied politely and lived very well. The tree hole was very comfortable. Parker looked like he knew a lot. Are you telling us about dwelling? Will gave Parker an appreciative look. It seems that you are also in the same vein as the leader. Parker said coldly that my father was the king of leopards. Here's a bit of popular science. Only the boss of Siwon can be king. Sanwon can only be called the patriarch. The patriarch sighed secretly. No wonder he is a salmon at a young age. It turns out that the bloodline is so powerful. So the team leader became more and more kind, and it was about to be the cold season. It is better for you to stay here forever. The nearby tribes are the strongest among us. Bai Qingqing is broken. I want to do it here. Then the team leader asked you again, and you said that your father was the king of leopards. Are you from Wanshou City? Some time ago, there was a tiger king in our tribe, but it was soon gone. It is also from Wanshou City. It's called Vincent, and you probably know each other. Bai Qingqing immediately asked excitedly when he came. How did it go again? Parker listened to the Chiwei's well hum. Vincent again. It turned out a month ago. Vincent looked for Bai Qingqing and found it. I didn't find it and left. Bai Qingqing was moved a month ago after understanding. It's been so long. Is Vincent still looking for me? He was even a little worried that Vincent didn't have a mark of moderation. No clues. How to find it? Parker saw that Bai Qingqing cared so much about Vincent. Suddenly, the sea was turned upside down. Take his hand and leave. Bai Qingqing hurriedly shouted and waited. Then he asked the team leader. Did he say when he would come back? The team leader said Vincent would be back next year. You live here. Should be able to wait for him. Bai Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I can't bear to let Vincent keep looking for me. Parker pulled Bai Qingqing angrily and finished speaking. With that, we're leaving. The young female catches up with Bai Qingqing. Wait, my dad asked me to show you around. Get acquainted with the tribe. Bai Qingqing said with a smile. Yes, Jasmine, marvel at how white your teeth are. Like males. Bai Qingqing told him. I brush my teeth with water plants every day. You can brush it every day. White Jasmine listened. Immediately excitedly pulled Bai Qingqing to go to the puddle. Bai Qingqing is teaching Jasmine. Identify which aquatic plants can be brushed. Suddenly, a blue-haired head burst out of the water. The two of them were startled. I saw Lanze scratching his head and looking at Bai Qingqing. You're here again so soon. Jasmine was overjoyed. Mermaid male. You're finally out. I like you so much. Do you know how popular this mermaid is? Sister. At first sight, I confessed passionately. I like you so much. Be my male. Bai Qingqing understands in seconds. Taking him to brush his teeth is fake. Look at Lanze is the real thing. It seems that Lanzer is very popular. This Jasmine may be able to do it with Lanze. I want to have a good relationship with him in the future. However, Lanzer didn't think so. I saw him make a splash at Jasmine in disgust. I said that I am Bai Qingqing's male. Don't spend all day at the water's edge. Jasmine wasn't buying it. You deceive people. Bai Qingqing has no benefit from you. Then he made some well-founded inferences. Lanze endured his impatience. Say that the merfolk will not stay and benefit. Also looked at Bai Qingqing for help. Tell him I'm your partner. Bai Qingqing scratched his cheeks. It wasn't Lanze who turned around in anger. He slapped the water with his tail. Bai Qingqing also wanted to comfort him. But Salmon was so angry that he didn't want to pay attention to him. I plunged headlong into the water and didn't come out. Lanze's reaction made Bai Qingqing shake. He doesn't seem to like Jasmine at all. Shouldn't I have pushed him like that? Jasmine didn't take it to heart. Forget it. I'll take you around. You can still see the heart grass. These words made Parker's eyes light up. Where is where? Bai Qingqing was strange. Why was he so excited all of a sudden? So he asked Jasmine what it was. Jasmine smiled playfully. Tianxin grass is a good thing. Originally, Tianxin grass is a flower that can give aphrodisiac to the tiger clan. Soon, Jasmine led them to Tianxin Meadow. It is said to be the largest piece in the area. The patriarch gathered here for this talent. Parker is in a sea of flowers. Can't stop enjoying it. Bai Xing was also stunned by this beautiful scenery. To speak is to embrace nature. Jasmine yelled in the back, not to exercise too hard. It's going to be heat. Hearing this, Bai Qingqing's footsteps stopped abruptly and did not dare to move. Suddenly, an animal skin skirt flew in. Blindfolded Bai Qingqing. Seeing that Parker has turned into an atrocity and begins to rejoice. Take another look. The three stupid sons also ran away with their father. Frightened Bai Qingqing. Don't chase it. However, the three little ones had long since disappeared into the sea of flowers. Bai Qingqing panicked. My boy is gone. He yelled after Parker. Parker stopped. Looking for Jasmine, she chased after Bai Qingqing. You wait for me. We can't run. It's really going to be in heat. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stopped. Because he was already feeling his heart racing. My face is hot. Jasmine also quickly lay flat. Don't dare to move more. Bai Qingqing asked her worriedly if she was okay. Jasmine waved her hand and said she had experience. Just lie down for a while. I saw that there were patrolmen who calmed down for Bai Qingqing. She asked Jasmine if you come here often. Jasmine nodded. This place is the most beautiful. It's also easy to hide and play elsewhere. It is easy to get entangled by males. Bai Qingqing said again. Males respond more to Tianxin grass than females. You often run here to play. Aren't you afraid of accidents? These words made Jasmine suddenly restrain her smile. Then he was turned over. I whispered that I actually went crazy once. It's with a male. Bai Qingqing was strange. Why didn't I see the benefits in her? Jasmine said, it's fine. I've dissolved my relationship with her. Bai Qingqing thought that it was some animals that were ridden. Why don't you give that male a chance? Jasmine did it suddenly. Angrily said that he did it on purpose. We females have no resistance to Tianxin grass. But the males don't get out of control. He knew I couldn't accept him. Then I can't even ask for him. All males are like him. Do we females still have a choice? Bai Qingqing sighed and said, what you said is reasonable. But then he came back to be on guard. You also know to be at him. Don't wait for him to finish. Jasmine's face changed suddenly. If only that salmon show lanes were my companion. The male won't be able to snatch me. These words made Bai Qingqing chuckle in his heart. You wouldn't be guarding against that male. I like Lanzer. If so, he couldn't let Lanze go into the fire pit. Fortunately, Jasmine just likes lanes. Young and beautiful. Young Sanwen. Bai Qingqing reminded Lanze again uneasily. It's not okay to fight on land. If you're trying to prevent that male, there's no need to look for him. Jasmine hurriedly said that it didn't matter. I won't give up. Bai Qingqing looked at him seriously, determined to help him silently. Suddenly, Parker's big leopard came over. Shamelessly began to lick Bai Qingqing's face. Bai Qingqing's desire is not good. Hurry up and call him up. The leopard suddenly took on a human form. A handful of hands over Bai Qingqing's face. No one else began a passionate kiss. Jasmine on the side also blushed when she saw it. The power of the celestial star grass is truly extraordinary. Soon, Bai Qingqing felt that his whole body was not hot. I can't hold on anymore. Sure enough, the world of foodies is all connected. Becky eats deliciously. It's like a PTSD patient. In other words, Ford Liu Baiqing enlightened Becky. He took advantage of Parker's hand. He went out and picked some fruit and came back. See Ford back. The sparkle in Becky's eyes brightened. Bai Qingqing told Ford. No matter what you say. Neither of responded. Ford was satisfied. It's already good. At least he doesn't exclude. Ford told Becky. I picked the thorn fruit and came back. Betsy hurriedly reached out to grab it. This aroused Bai Qingqing's curiosity. He followed Ford's example. Peel off the shell of the stinger. A star that seized the fruit. Isn't this an example? See that Bai Qingqing likes Ford. I also gave him some. Ford thoughtfully wrapped a lot of fruit for Becky. See how delicious Becky eats. Ford unconsciously curled the corners of his mouth. Bai Qingqing saw that the atmosphere between the two was so good. Acquaintance got up and said, Ford is grateful to Bai Qingqing, and asked him to come and see Becky often. Bai Qingqing nodded happily. I will. Bai Qingqing shouted Parker. I'll come out. Jumped down from the hole. Parker was taken aback. Be careful. As a result, the person was caught. But Bai Qingqing was pierced by the shell of chestnut thorns. Hit the arm. It's just a patch of red, though. Parker was also distressed. Immediately stick out his tongue and lick the wound for his daughter-in-law. Bai Qingqing was speechless. It's really a leopard operation. He hurriedly asked Parker to peel chestnuts for him. The leopard took the fur pocket. I asked again and again what it was. Can you eat it from the tiger beast? Bai Qingqing pointed to the fire and said anxiously. He ate several of them. I've eaten something similar. Cooked is more delicious. Let's bake it now, Parker said. The little gluttonous beast shaved his daughter-in-law's nose indulgently. Soon he had the fire burned. Bai Qingqing couldn't wait to learn to be angry. Ate a few raw. I didn't expect it to be delicious. Parker suddenly remembered that he had seen this fruit. I'll pick some later. Give them back. Bai Qingqing nodded again and again. I also fried them. Paige is a foodie. The good food helps him to come out of the shadows. Parker saw that the weather was fairly clear. Decided to take Bai Qingqing to pick it now. Bai Qingqing announces the good news. There is a joy of going out to the mall. I want many examples. And animal skins. Bai Qingqing was about to set off immediately. Suddenly stopped by the leopard. Parker's little genius. He actually thought of asking the snake beast to show him the sea. As a result, Curtis woke up from his sleep. I found that there were 3 leopard cubs lying on my body. This leopard beast actually took Xiaobai out while I was sleeping. And you want me to show him? Although it is said so, but the hand covered the leopard with a quilt. At this time, Bai Qingqing and Parker had already arrived outside the capture tribe. Bai Qingqing suddenly realized when he saw the guards on the heights. No wonder we were spotted yesterday as soon as we got closer. Even Parker was satisfied. It's good here. You're safe here. Bai Qingqing took the opportunity to make a wave. You're here. Where am I not safe? These words made the leopard smile suddenly. Then suddenly, a tree full of red fruits attracted Bai Qingqing's attention. But the bones under the trees were neglected. Bai Qingqing sniffed the sweet smell. I couldn't help but pick one. Can't wait to put it in your mouth. Don't eat, Park, listen. As he spoke, he knocked out the red fruit. Immediately, he hugged Bai Qingqing tightly in fear. A little bit of it, just a little bit. He's going to lose Qingqing. He stared at the red poison. I have palpitations. After a long time, he said that this fruit was poisonous. I don't know the height of the sky. Be courteous to Bai Qingqing. Is still in front of other people's husbands. Parker was furious. I saw him jump up. Anger burned in his eyes. He first held 2 spikes in his hands. When the cannonball smashes into the tiger beast, then jumped to the front. One hand grabbed him by the neck. Pick up the animal skin skirt in one hand. The next second, he was lifted high in the air. Give me how far and roll as far as I can. With that, he threw the orc out with both hands. The tiger beast screamed and flew high into the air. This mother made Bai Qingqing break the defense in an instant. Ha 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 ha. Bai Qingqing sat on the ground with a smile on his stomach. It turned out that he just remembered the old Parker. I think Parker was snatched from Curtis in the first place. Bai Qingqing was also beaten violently. He also cried and went home to ask his mother for help. Bai Qingqing couldn't hide his smile when he first met you. You're exactly like him. Parker was not convinced, and there was no such thing. I was already a 2-striped beast at that time. Bai Qingqing touched the leopard's head and cooperated. You're awesome, and suddenly he looks at a whole bunch. Piercing sorrow. Too much to take. Let's peel the chestnuts out here. It's hard to peel it off. It's time to go home. Bai Qingqing said coquettishly that it was still early. I want to go shopping again. Find some coconut. Bai Qingqing has a request. Parker's posture is no different, and he can be alone with Bai Qingqing. Of course, the stupid leopard is very happy. He happily told Bai Qingqing. Their belongings in Wanshou City were all moved out and hidden. Wine and seeds are available. You can always go back and find it. Hear the words. Bai Qingqing brightened his eyes in surprise. Parker said that something was hidden near the city of longevity. But at least you have to go in the light rainy season. Because Curtis has to hibernate during the cold season. Parker had to stay and take care of Bai Qingqing. But in this way, Bai Qingqing was already very happy. Now he is only looking forward to the light rainy season coming soon. Parker felt a little guilty. If Qingqing has other partners to protect, I'll be able to go and retrieve things now. I'm not allowed. Qingqing is not looking for another partner. I owe so much to Qingqing. Bai Qingqing didn't think about this at all. It's nice to just be pleasantly surprised. I thought those things had been moved by King Yuan. Parker sneered. How could it be? Even if it is burned, it will not be left to him. Bai Qingqing immediately said that it was right. Then the two looked at each other and smiled. Haha. Let's take a look at the wild grains around here. I've been looking for a long time. Only a few grasses that look edible were found. The two were tired and thirsty. Come to the river and drink water. Suddenly, the sensitive nose sniffed a strange smell. Parker immediately became alert. Bai Qingqing also turned his head in fright. Soon I smelled the strange smell too. However, the next second I felt dizzy. He leaned his hands on the ground weakly. In a trance, I saw black smoke rising from the ground. Bai Qingqing thought that he just hadn't eaten. Some have low blood sugar. Parker was trying to help Bai Qingqing. Suddenly, I heard a shuddering sound from the grass behind me. Parker turned to violence when he turned around. Open your mouth and roar. The next second, I saw a scorpion leaping up from the grass. Fell in front of Parker with a thud. Confrontation with both hands. The battle is on the verge of breaking out. A black scorpion and a leopard are about to fight. You say that a leopard biting a scorpion will not be poisoned. I saw the black scorpion spewing black smoke. Aggressively, he rushed towards the leopard. The cocked scorpion tail was a man's height. When you see the slender poisonous hook at the tip of the scorpion's tail, Bai Qingqing was frightened. It's too dangerous. Parker, let's go. Bai Qingqing said, and wanted to get up. I found that the froze I had, the weaker my legs became. Only then did she realize that she had been poisoned. This hold directly made her lie on the ground weakly. Qingqing, Parker is in a hurry. Oops, Qingqing was poisoned. I need to get her out as soon as possible. Lie God gap. The scorpion beast had already reached for its poisonous hook. Fortunately, Parker reacted quickly enough. Tilt your head at incredible speed. Not only dodged the attack, also took the opportunity to bite the poisonous dirt of the scorpion. He gritted his teeth and didn't let go. Pull hard. In an instant, the scorpion's plasma was disconnected from the sinew. The scorpion tail is scrapped. The leopard took advantage of the victory and pursued. A kick landed on the scorpion's back. With 2 clicks, the whole scorpion is scrapped. Immediately after that, the large pincers raised in midair lost their mobilization. Slammed to the ground. The battle is over. Parker hurriedly turned into a human form and walked away. To the Westlake, he picked up Bai Qingqing. Comforting that you have been poisoned. Unable to move. It'll be fine in a while. I'll take you back. Bai Qingqing asked Parker worriedly, are you okay? Parker explained that I was a male. Of course it's fine. This poison gas is specifically for females. To ensure that they fight with males. Females are unable to escape. After success, this will also be used to make the female obediently cooperate and reproduce. Bai Qingqing's face turned blue with fright. He couldn't believe it. Such a terrifying creature turned out to be an orc. Suddenly the leopard remembered something big. By the way, don't like scorpions. No matter what kind of scorpion hand. They like to hit females when they communicate. They can't change their habits. Bai Qingqing was so frightened that blind pig Parkers. Can you stop telling me horror stories? He couldn't imagine the scorpion's hard body. Any part that touches it will die. Jinbai rejoiced. Parker was very satisfied. Picked up his daughter-in-law and ran home. But he didn't find the dead scorpion behind him. A foot suddenly appeared next to it. It also means more hassle to get around. Just entered the tribe. There was a tiger beast that smelled the scorpion beast on Parker's body. Rushed to interrogate. You've also met the scorpion. Parker hurriedly said I killed one. Scorpions are often seen here. Speaking of which, and all the people were sorrowful. There's a desert up there. That's where the scorpions come from. I don't know how many. You can't kill them all. The beast sighed and continued to flee. The tribe has just moved in. At this time, the females of the patriarch were robbed. Now we're on guard. They did not dare to come again. Finally, the beast tells Parker to be careful. Acceptance sometimes passes through the valley. Bai Qingqing's face was almost frightened when he heard this. Parker immediately made a head kill to comfort. Don't worry. I'm here. Let's go back and see the boys. Parker just returned. Put Bai Qingqing on the grass bunk to rest. Immediately behind him, Curtis's voice came from where are you going? Why did you come back so late? Unexpectedly. This leopard turned out to be a little cutie who didn't speak martial arts. It is said that Lanze played Bai Qingqing in front of leopard noodles. The leopard immediately shouted that it was not intended to fight. Lanze answered without fear. The choice is yours when you are on land or in the water. He secretly calculated that the leopard beast and I were both three-striped beasts. On land he wins. In the water I win. If he chooses land, it's not glorious to win. When the time comes, Bai Qingqing will definitely put his arms around the injured me and scold him. It looks better in the water. I don't torture him. However, Parker smiled at his feet, and you waited. I'm going to call Curtis. When the three words fell, Lancer seemed to have seen it. The devilish figure of the big guy. Plop. The silly fish sank into the water along with the morale. He secretly cursed the death beast. I won't let you go if you wait. Parker saw Lancer's reaction. Laughed straight to tears. Ha ha ha. Qingqing, look at him. As soon as I heard Curtis's name, I was instigated like this. Bai Qingqing is really not right to laugh or not. Fortunately, at this time, Jasmine appeared and resolved the embarrassment. Bai Qingqing glanced at Jasmine. Looked at Lan Zidao meaningfully. It was Jasmine. Lan Zi sighed helplessly. The plane sank to the bottom. Bai Qingqing felt a little sorry for Lan Zi for a while. He's no worse than going to jail here. Jasmine was very disappointed. I just came and sank again. Bai Qingqing hurriedly asked if the flowers had been sent out. Jasmine was even more upset when she heard it. He never came out. I didn't see Bai Qingqing. It's a bit of a dilemma. It can be seen that Jasmine really likes Lanes. And he's the best looking of the Tiger clan. If he can't, Lan Zi has no chance with the Tiger clan. But it's also obvious that Lancer doesn't like Jasmine. Good food again and again. Anyway, he decided to try to make a match again. Look at the water. He thought of a good way to get Lan Zi to show up. He pulled Jasmine to her feet and walked. I'll tell you one thing. Lancer saw it all. Ran a long way. Bai Qingqing stopped. He told Jasmine, I have a way to get Lancer out. Wenyan Jasmine was immediately excited. What a way. Can you get him to talk to me? I just didn't get a chance to talk to him. Bai Qingqing smiled and calmed him down. By the way, there are no fish in the puddle. Hear Jasmine say there are fish. Bai Qingqing was a little worried. Puddles have food chains. His approach is a bit risky. And it's also a bit immoral. He began to hesitate to tell Molly. But it couldn't stop Molly's enthusiasm. Let's talk about it. I don't have a partner yet. If he had been with me for a while. He's my favorite. He's sure to be impressed. Bai Qingqing also felt reasonable. In such an environment, it's harder to get a female than to get a female to the sky. He let it go. Well, a day at most. When you see that the situation is not right, you will stop. Jasmine saw Bai Qingqing agree, happily hugged him and jumped around. Bai Qingqing pushed Jasmine away with one finger's in. Don't rush to thank me. Go find Nomad. It's your business. Don't expect me to ask my partner for help. Jasmine smiled innocently, of course. What else is commanded? By the way, what the hell is your method? Bai Qingqing looked like he was in his chest. Without you, look for nomads. I'll take care of the rest. You'll know how to do it. After speaking, Bai Qingqing returned to the puddle. Tell Parker to make a pair of oil extraction tools. Lan Zi heard the sound and came out again. His face was dark, calm. A very unhappy expression. Bai Qingqing asked weakly if there was anything wrong. But my heart was tight. He probably didn't see anything. Lan Zi angrily slapped a splash. Firmly, don't think I don't know. You don't want to push me to the female. I'm telling you. That's impossible. If the person you like just wants to match you with someone else. What kind of mood are you? Mermaid Lanes 4. Bai Qingqing rebelled against his own group. Left the ocean on which we lived. Bai Qingqing only wanted him and Jasmine to succeed. Lan Zi's heart was bitter, as if he had eaten fish gall. He turned around in a sullen manner. I don't like that female. Bai Qingqing was also a little displeased. How do you know without touching? Or do you only like the appearance of females? Seeing Bai Qingqing think of himself like this, Lan Zi's hands trembled in anger. He turned around and did the final whitening. What kind of females do I need? I have feelings. It won't be that anyway. Bai Qingqing felt ashamed. I don't know what I'm talking about. Fortunately, Parker was smarter. broke the daughter-in-law's embarrassment bird. It's almost done. Let's go back. That's when the stupid fish noticed. A stream of sewage is getting closer and closer to itself. He was so anxious that he yelled for hay. I remember there was a river next to me that also stained my water. Who knew that Parker actually broke out in Peking opera? If you don't come to Qingqing, you won't come. You were trying to be clean of solitude. Or a lively homeowner. Lanze surrendered immediately, so you better continue to come. Wenyin Parker smirked. Bai Qingqing saw this. Hurriedly pulled him up and apologized to Lanze, embarrassed. I'll tell Parker to go to the river to wash the meat. Let's go back first. I'll see you next time. After saying that, he took Parker's arm and walked back. A lonely mermaid was left alone in the water. Lanze looked at the two of them and walked away. There was a look of envy in his eyes. It would be nice if it was me who was being held by Bai Qingqing. Soon, Bai Qingqing ate the fragrant chestnut chicken. The aroma of food wafts through the tribe. Many orcs watched from afar. There was also a bold one who brought a bowl. It turned out to be Ford. He lowered his eyebrows and did not dare to look at people. Can you give me some food? After speaking, he immediately added another sentence that he would not ask for in vain. I'll give you back your whole prey later. Bai Qingqing hurriedly put the one that had been prepared for Becky a long time ago. Copies were handed to him. Ford felt very uncomfortable. Being a male, it's disgraceful to ask other beasts for food. But Becky finally had a request. How could he not be satisfied? Bai Qingqing saw Ford's solemn expression. Busy playing haha comforting, don't be so restrained. You also gave me a spine. No need to return food. Ford hurriedly waved his hand. No, no. Food must be returned. It's the rule. When will you eat again? I delivered it on time. Parker wasn't polite to him either. Delivered at dusk. Ford straightened his back in response. Bai Qingqing was also convinced. Suffer this damn self. Bai Qingqing asked again if Becky called you. Ford grinned, yes. Just now, the fragrance wafted into the hollow of the tree. He immediately pulled me and said I wanted to eat. Bai Qingqing laughed sullenly. What a foodie. Good food is like medicine. He asked Ford to tell Becky to take it back and see it. I prepared something else for him to eat. Ford happily responded. I went back. Then Bai Qingqing instructed Parker. Go find some sand and come back and fry the chestnuts. Parker just got up and got ready to go. Was preempted by Curtis. Parker snorted at the snake beast. Everything has to be preempted. I wouldn't tell him to look for loose sand. Suddenly, a figure approached. Shouted Bai Qingqing. Anyway, Curtis just walked on the front foot. Jasmine on the hind foot brought a pile of oil wood. Parker was under Bai Qingqing's orders. Stone tools have been laid. Several barrels of oil were fried. Curtis then returned with the sand. Parker complained resentfully that he had been gone for too long. Curtis explained that he was looking for sand. By the way, I also went to the scorpion's lair to investigate the situation. Bai Qingqing exclaimed. In such a short period of time, I went to other races to wander around. My cuckoo is really a master and bold. Parker saw this. Hurriedly handed in the homework. Qingqing oil is fried. There are several buckets. Bai Qingqing looked at Parker. Praise Parker is also great. When everything is ready, Bai Qingqing carried fried chestnuts to visit Becky. By the way, I also take the leopards to string the door together. Ford knew it was Bai Qingqing. Specially brought the cubs to unravel Becky. Hurriedly and warmly beckoned them in. Who knew that the leopards would be able to visit the door at first sight? Are all scrambling to grab it. Bai Qingqing almost didn't hug the stinky cub. The skin is tight again, Parker said. Slapped all three sons into it with one palm. This wave of operations stunned both people in the cave. With the sound of landing, a leopard pecks face to the ground. Bai Qingqing exclaimed that my boy should be seen by his mother. I didn't hurt it. I heard my mother say that. The leopard baby began to cry. At this moment, there was a pop behind him. Becky actually laughed. Ford hurriedly carried the cub to him. He told Bai Qingqing excitedly. It was Becky's first laugh back. The heart said that this Bai Qingqing is too godly. After a while, Ford was ready to go hunting again. Becky sees Ford leaving. Suddenly, the smile disappeared. Then he shrank aside and became dull. Bai Qingqing saw this. Hurriedly took out the food. Becky gives delicious fried chestnuts. Paige sniffed the scent and licked her lips, gesturing tentatively towards the bag. See him hesitate. Bai Qingqing immediately said that he brought it to you to eat. You're welcome. The words just fell. Becky quickly reached out and grabbed a handful. The one that was squeezed out was used as a toy by the three little ones. Bai Qingqing was amused, and the boys also wanted to eat it. This one has to be shelled. Look at how Aunt Becky eats. As a result, I turned my head. I saw Becky munching chestnuts in his shell. Hey, Becky, wait until you peel the shell and eat it again. After returning home from the fishing, Jasmine came to the door again. Qingqing, when will you help me meet Lanze? Parker got to Qingqing first to sleep. You'll play with him tomorrow. Jasmine was disappointed. Bai Qingqing can't bear it, so let's do it now. Although the effect is not as good as at noon, but the risk is also small. Immediately, the two of them each held a bucket of diesel. Walked towards the puddle. Jasmine hesitated. Let's wait until tomorrow at noon. You're not saying. Bai Qingqing interrupted. You want to be alone with Lanzer at noon. I'm afraid that another female will come out in a while. Parker is worried about Bai Qingqing's safety. I want to go together. Bai Qingqing said that he would come back in a while. Let them not be in love. Looking at the back of his daughter-in-law, both men made the same decision at the same time. Sneak along. Bai Qingqing poured 2 full barrels of oil into the water. The oil spread out and covered the puddles. Bai Qingqing explained that oil can shade the light. After a long time, there will be a lack of oxygen in the water. Although now the light is not good, but Lanzer must be able to spot the anomaly. Jasmine saw that everything was ready. Let Bai Qingqing go back first. Not 2 steps yet. I heard the sound of gurgling and bubbling. The two of them turned around and came out. The next second, I saw Lanze shaking the long flowing blue hair. Surfaced. The slimy oil made Lanzer very uncomfortable, and he knew that it had been a long time. All the creatures in the water will die. Jasmine ecstasy Lanzer. You're finally out. Bai Qingqing's method really worked. These words made the mastermind hiding in the grass really crazy. Lanze's face suddenly became gloomy and terrifying. This was made by Bai Qingqing. Just so that I can see you. He is the most powerful martial beast in this world. Single-handedly wiped out hundreds of thousands of mermaids. But he couldn't resist his hibernation nature. In order to ensure Bai Qingqing's safety, Curtis offered it. Let Bai Qingqing find another partner. Bai Qingqing was so shocked that he hurriedly waved his hand. No, no, no. I don't want any. Just the two of you. Speaking of knots, Bai Qingqing thought of almost accepting more. He nearly killed Curtis. And thank him all the time. It's stupid. Come to think of it. Bai Qingqing buried himself in Curtis's arms. No face. This is the one that Parker recommends. The stripless tiger beast encountered in the chestnut forest. Although the combat effectiveness is not good, but the basic predatory ability is still there. Han's skills are enough. The more Parker thought about it, the thirstier he became. Hee, so I'm not the weakest in this family. Think about it. How can you escape Big Ku and Bai Qingqing? Don't wait for Curtis to do it. Bai Qingqing was wearing small sandals. Kicked the stupid leopard down. Just like that, the matter of finding a new partner is over. The next day, Bai Qingqing came to Molly's house to visit her. Yesterday Molly was really scared. Red and swollen eyes. It was like crying all night. The voice was also listless. After last night's events, I realized the craze for liking someone. I suddenly felt I shouldn't have dissolved the relationship with that male. Bai Qingqing hurriedly comforted you. You are not wrong in this matter. No one can force a female to end. You will meet the right male for you later. Jasmine was inspired. Ben nodded. Well, after estrus next year. I'm looking for a strong male. Give birth to a litter of tiger cubs. Bai Qingqing quipped. You're not chasing Lancer anymore. Jasmine waved her hand repeatedly. Don't chase him now, pursue me. I don't want it either. It's scary. I'll be far from the puddle in the future. It's terrible. Bai Qingqing saw Jasmine's reaction. I knew that neither side woke up. All I need to do now is apologize to Lancer again. This is a complete turning point. Just do it. Bai Qingqing immediately went to the puddle to continue cleaning up the oil stain. By the way, wait for lanes. After a while, salmon just popped up. The water is clean enough. How long are you going to bite? Bai Qingqing said bluntly. Bites you in. I'm here to wait for you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you any more red lines. Lancer looked around in fright. What a red line. What are you doing again? Bai Qingqing supported his forehead. Just figuratively. It means that there will be no more matches between you and other females. Hearing this, Lancer hooked his lips and secretly enjoyed it for a second. Then his face tensed. A serious way, then you come in and help. I'll take a look at the nest snow. After speaking, he took Bai Qingqing and sank. Leave 3 leopard cubs on the shore. Suddenly, a figure appeared. How did you get here? Qingqing at this time. Lancer had already taken Bai Qingqing to the bottom of the water. This puddle was much deeper than Bai Qingqing had imagined. Like a huge well. The water is also warm. Bai Qingqing looked at the environment. I didn't notice Lancer looking at himself at all. It's a look that is still obsessed. Soon, Lancer took Bai Qingqing to the mouth of a lair. Pitch black underwater. Only that place was unusually bright. Suddenly, Lancer lamented that you are so beautiful. It's really not the mermaid group. After speaking, he took Bai Qingqing into his lair. Then take out a glowing bead. Do you remember Jean's lair? After each mermaid communicates with the female. We'll leave one as proof. When I got the right to communicate with females. It's ready. This Bai Qingqing's weird brain circuit. Immediately thought of it. The number of people who turned out to have sex with Jean. It is the number of beads. Nearly 100 trees. It's okay. It's okay. Not hundreds of thousands of fish. But the males of this race are too sad. Bai Qingqing came back to his senses and replied. Remember that there were a lot of these beads there. But most of them don't look like you. These words made Salmon suddenly happy. Suddenly, he approached Bai Qingqing. Since I have taken you away, be sure to bring your own beads. Bai Qingqing vigilantly pushed Lancer away. Divert the topic. You're amazing. Such a big competition can also get the right to communicate. But Lancer was unaffected. Long curled eyelashes. As soon as you raise it, the charming eyes are set off by the night pearl. The more motivating. What do you think of my lair? Even though Bai Qingqing, who had been on guard for a long time. I was also fascinated for a while. For a moment, he twisted his head to the side in a panic. I secretly sighed in my heart that Lancer was really beautiful. No wonder so. Many nests bowed down under his fishtails. Bai Qingqing made a comment after looking around. Don't you think it's a little small? Lancer smiled but did not speak. There are no other merfolk here. What to do with that big thing? A narrower way to hold the female more tightly. Get in touch with him more intimately. Joe Salmon's expression is clear. The female in his brain is Bai Qingqing in front of him. For him to be able to live comfortably, Lancer sealed bubbles in every part of the lair. To prevent water seepage from collapsing, the salmon suddenly slammed Bai Qingqing's wall against the wall. How about this nest do you like? Bai Qingqing instantly understood. Lancer is not dead set on himself. He immediately asked Lancer to send him up. I've been out for too long. Curtis and Parker will be in a hurry. These words also made the mermaid suddenly sad. What the hell am I going to do? He will accept me. At this time, the shore was already in a hurry. Parker roared into the water with his 3 sons. The leopards are about to explode. This dead mermaid beast actually took Qingqing away. I'm going to tear him apart. Have you ever seen a leopard tearing a mermaid? I didn't have that opportunity either. Parker learns that Lancer has brought his daughter-in-law home. He also left his 3 sons alone on the shore. A leopard was so angry that it was revealed. secretly vowed to tear Lanze. It took a long time to see my daughter-in-law surface. Parker was about to pounce and tear the merfolk apart. The 3 leopard cubs also coaxed. It's about to be seen as a leopard tearing salmon, or mermaid fillet raw popping. Bai Qingqing suddenly grabbed the leopard's fur. He used all his strength to feed. Hydro Labao. Lanzer also saw the opportunity to retreat at the speed of light. This led to the fact that the fierce war did not break out. After this, Bai Qingqing decided, I'll try to come to the puddle as little as possible in the future. The cold season is coming. The temperature dropped rapidly. Everyone is busy stocking up on supplies. Bai Qingqing, because he didn't have thick clothes. It can only hide the whole animal skin in the hollow of the tree. On this day, Curtis finally dried the hide. You can tailor winter clothes for Bai Qingqing. This skillful approach is placed in the modern era. Definitely top designer. During the period, I didn't forget to make a serious joke about my daughter-in-law's fatness. Bai Qingqing touched his flat lower abdomen. I feel that my body has recovered well. Who knew that Curtis would come up? Touching Bai Qingqing and saying that he was fat here. You can't even wear that blouse that I made of snakes. Bai Qingqing's heart, suddenly 10,000 grass and mud horses rushed by. He screamed. Knocked out Curtis's hand. Rogue snakes. Parker, outside the tree hole, heard the voice and was curious. Immediately leaned over to the entrance of the cave and looked inside. I saw that my daughter-in-law was teaching pigs trotters a lesson. Curtis, don't think you're serious. Can hide the nature of your flirtatiousness. Who knows that the stupid leopard is not comforted? Got home with a fire. You do get fat. It used to be only that big when pinched, but I don't dislike it. Bai Qingqing has one arm. Push the 2 men away. Enough of you. I'm not called fat. Forget it. It's an ethnic divide. It doesn't make sense. A few more days passed. Snow is falling. The cold season is officially here. It was snowing, Bai Qingqing said. Excitedly, he reached out and lifted a snowflake. Unconsciously. Another year has passed in the city of Haranshu. Suddenly, Curtis hugged him from behind. The cold voice was full of reluctance. I'm going to hibernate. The smile on Bai Qingqing's face collapsed instantly. As soon as you sleep, the cold season will end. The cold season here seems to be longer than that of Wanshou City. There is no need to hatch eggs this year. Can't you sleep later? Curtis didn't speak. Just with a cold kiss. Gagged Bai Qingqing's mouth. He didn't want to. Spend every 4 seasons with your beloved girl. At this time, Parker saw 2 figures kissing. A leopard star instantly fell into an ice cave of desolation. Fortunately, there are 2 sons who can comfort themselves. After a kiss, the 2 of them had crimson cheeks. Curtis looked at his daughter-in-law intently. The exchange will warm my body. We started with him. Bai Qingqing guessed what he was going to say later. Hurriedly blocked the second half of the sentence with his mouth. After a quick kiss, we changed the subject. Let's go down and play in the snow. While it's not very cold yet. In this way, a family of 6 set off neatly to play in the snow. The little old man snapped a dog and landed on the ground. Bai Qingqing hurriedly hugged his son to comfort him. The little third child seized the opportunity and slammed it. Make Bai Qingqing so cute that you don't want it. I couldn't help but rub the cute little Bobby. Curtis looked at the leopard's round eyes. This look looks like Xiaobai. It's so cute. He seems to suddenly understand. Why do you prefer this group of leopards? Curtis said that he would take Bai Qingqing to play. Parker was going to go with him immediately. Bai Qingqing suggested that they add a piece of clothing. But Parker waved his hand and didn't need to. I'm a male. The snow didn't affect me at all. Besides, I'm not a bird. There is also no need to decorate yourself. Speaking of birds, Bai Qingqing immediately thought of Ava. I haven't seen him since I came here. Parker confidently said that Curtis and I were there. How dare he come? Meanwhile, in a large spherical bird's nest on the outskirts of the tribe, an exaggerated Adi voice was heard. Then Alva poked out the green head. It was too cold. I really want to see Bai Qingqing. Gotta figure it out quickly. Bai Qingqing is too good at playing. Someone else grows turnips. He breeds leopards. The story of this episode, Bai Qingqing's family's journey to the east, winter snow drifting, covers the entire starry meadow. A leopard cub who saw snow for the first time, scattered and galloped in the snow. Bai Qingqing was afraid that they would wrestle, hurriedly picked up the leader and took the lead. Don't run around with your brothers. Then he and Parker suggested that they move to another place. Parker, aren't you going to change the sand for the bunker? We'll go now. Then asked where there was sand in Curtis. It took 2 hours. A few people came to the desert. Parker was so happy that he flew up and down. There's a lot of sand to hide. Lots of feces. No need to clean up. After saying that, he lay on the ground and began to dig the pit. Bai Qingqing was speechless. But this desert is a luxurious thatched hut in the eyes of the orcs. Parker, go fill the sand. However, after explaining to Parker, a few more small paws appeared. The leopards looked at Huang Cancan's world and were stunned. In the next second, the action began to throw in unison. Bai Qingqing is embarrassed. Indeed, there is a father, and there is a son. Then he summoned the 3 little ones back. The 3 little ones are also obedient. Bai Qingqing ran towards him as soon as he screamed. Only the 3rd child is too weak. After running 2 steps, he fell into a leopard cub. Bai Qingqing picked up the leopards in distress. Meow and say something. Parker, who understood, took revenge and rolled over to play. Bai Qingqing immediately turned into a calf protector mother. Don't be a bad cub. After packing up Parker, he decides to play a fun game with the leopards. That's a leopard. The 3rd child was buried in the sand by Bai Qingqing. Only one head is exposed. The other 2 were curious. Suddenly, the boss was also picked up. So the boss was also planted in the sand. Look at the way he couldn't move. The 2nd child, who has been bullied all year round, wants to take revenge when he sees the opportunity. But the boss is not a fuel-efficient lamp. At a glance, he caught out with his brother's thoughts. Just when the 2nd child was about to hit him on the head, turning his head, he bit the 2nd evil little claw. This is really stealing chickens and rice. Seeing this, Bai Qingqing smiled evilly. Don't fight. There's something for everyone. As he spoke, he poked and began to dig a hole. However, the pit was dug up. The 2nd child also ran away. Bai Qingqing was also shaved with sand. Cub, stop. I heard the words of my daughter-in-law. A red snake's tail crept out. The naughty 2nd brother was tripped over by Dad Ke. Bai Qingqing quickly caught him and picked him up. With a non-spicy one, he buried the 3 small ones in the sand. The 2 men behind him looked at the cute daughter-in-law and child. Excited. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing turned around. You can help me dig a pit. When Yin and the 2 men looked at each other, Kiki then moved back. Parker digs a hole in the gloomy road. Bury us too. Bai Qingqing hurriedly explained. No, I'm going to bury myself. Parker doesn't make sense. Bai Qingqing could only ask for red hair. Curtis smiled meaninglessly. The next second, Bai Qingqing was caught by Curtis's snake tail, lifted high with a scream. Bai Qingqing has been buried in the sand. Immobile, Bai Qingqing shouted Curtis frantically. The red hair smiled at the pit you wanted. The leopard on the side couldn't help but burst into laughter. Ha ha. Qingqing, you look so funny. Bai Qingqing laughed and scolded, you bastards. When I come out, you'll have a good look. Suddenly, his ears trembled, and he fed. Curtis, did you hear anything unusual? Curtis immediately leaned out. Then he pulled out his daughter-in-law. Bai Qingqing hurriedly shouted, Don't move me, I'm going to crawl out on my own. Curtis hurriedly made a close-quarters gesture. Take this bag for the leopard cub. As he spoke, he fished out the 3 small ones. Bai Qingqing was shocked and said, Are there any orcs? Curtis nodded. See the orcs who have been exposed. An attack was immediately launched. Just as he was about to pounce on him, swept away by Curtis with a snake's tail. But soon more scorpions came around. Curtis remorsefully deserves to die. I forgot that this is the habitat of the Scorpion clan. This snake beast is in order to protect the beloved girl. In the snowy winter, strong consciousness and dormant nature to resist. Listening to Curtis say that communication warms his body. Bai Qingqing's face was full of shyness. Curtis's request was granted. Curtis couldn't wait to kiss him. Bai Qingqing suddenly said that he wanted to take a bath first. He patted a bunch of complainers and said, "It's all your fault. Drag me into the bunker." The fur of the clothes was full of sand. Curtis teased. "Didn't you ask me to dig a pit and bury you?" Bai Qingqing was speechless. Hurriedly diverted the topic. "Oops. Parker's water is coming back. I'll see if there's enough firewood." After a while, Parker returned with a bucket. Bai Qingqing was like seeing a savior. "I've got to wash it up. It also smells of scorpions." This made Curtis ponder. That group of scorpions died so much. The people don't give up. But the strongest of the tiger clan is only the salmon. Parker couldn't protect it alone. "I can't sleep right now. Come to think of it." Curtis quickly rushed to Parker to give me water. "I'm going to burn it faster." But Parker wouldn't let the dead snake beast. "Hurry away. Qingqing's bathwater can only be boiled by me." Bai Qingqing hurriedly finished taking a shower. Curtis's snake tail immediately rolled over. Bai Qingqing is like a hibiscus out of the water. Stepped on by Curtis. Curtis looked at his daughter-in-law with a confused look in his eyes. "Here we go. That's it. An aerobic workout for survival begins." A leopard that hears movement. Angry, he snapped the wood. Then he imagined the tree as Curtis. A rambling hammer. It's another night. The next day dawned. Parker hurriedly rushed into the tree hole to find Bai Qingqing. But Bai Qingqing's first sentence was Curtis. Did he sleep? Paxton was at the end of his life. "Wake up, Curtis." "Curtis's. Leave him alone. I'll wash your face." As he spoke, he stepped forward and stuck out his big tongue. However, the next second, the meme was cleared. It turned out to be the appearance of the red snake tail. Look at Parker's figure flying away. I know that Curtis is not merciful. Finish the hug. Curtis walked towards Bai Qingqing. Style-by communication is very useful. Bai Qingqing's face flushed with shame. How long will it work this time? However, the voice just fell. Curtis almost didn't get on his feet and went down. Bai Qingqing was shocked to be on the file. "You lied to me." "Ignore you." Parker, who was hiding outside the tree hollow, immediately pricked up his ears. At this time, Curtis accompanied by a smiley face. "Really useful. I almost slept yesterday. I only held it up after the exchange." After speaking, I heard Parker's voice whispering. Did the boss see it clearly? Qingqing didn't ignore the snake beast? Curtis immediately coaxed Bai Qingqing to milk the leopard cub, and then hugged the boss who was in charge of spying on intelligence. He also used the snake's tail to roll up the other two as well. "Come in and drink milk," Curtis said. A smug smile smiled at Parker. The leopard who was caught in the bag was simply embarrassed to death. He hurriedly made up a lame reason. "Well, I'm getting ready to send the leopard cub up for milk. I'll leave the cub to you." Curtis listened. The smile grew meaningful. He also drank and sneered. "Then we went back to the tree hole. Enjoy the warm moments with your wife and children by your side." Bai Qingqing looked at the leopard cub drinking milk and fell into deep thought. The thinning lactation period is only a little over a month. If you eat too long, you will be laughed at by cubs of the same age. So he told Curtis. He wanted to wean in another month. Curtis immediately objected. "No, it's going to be heat." Bai Qingqing asked. "You just want to communicate with me. But I don't want children." Curtis was calm. "That's right. Bai Qingqing is ashamed and embarrassed. Get up and walk out. Don't talk to you. I went out to play." He went to the hole in the tree and shouted, "Pick me up with Parker." Parker hurried over, grinning and opening his arms. Bai Qingqing jumped. Fall into Parker's solid chest. "I knew you were going to catch me. Good Channa. What are you cooking?" Parker immediately reported the name of the dish. Chestnut stewed lamb's trotters. It was stewed before dawn. "I'll go fetch water and wash you up before eating." One here's American. Bai Qingqing couldn't wait. It's too much trouble. I went straight to the puddle. It's not easy to wash this mermaid. Leave the endless ocean. Can only live in this puddle. Worse still. Winter is coming. The surface of the water froze. Those who live below are deprived of oxygen and food. It is said that Bai Qingqing came to the puddle to wash, only to find that the surface of the water was frozen. Only a small hole was broken in the edge. Lanze was lying on the ice and worried. See, Bai Qingqing hurriedly said with concern. Are you okay? I heard you were scared by the crab beast yesterday. It turned out that Parker had told him yesterday when he was fetching water. I also laughed at him, by the way, and it was sandy there. You're definitely a fishing rod. Ha ha ha, remembered the look of the leopard begging for a beating. Lanze gritted his teeth in anger. The mouth is cheap and thin. I don't know how Bai Qingqing fell in love with him. At this time, Bai Qingqing knocked on the ice surface. The ice was so thick. The following is not very hypoxic. Speaking of which, Lanze was even more distressed. Yes? I didn't sleep well. I was awakened. I thought it was better than the ocean. I didn't expect the cold to be like this. Obviously, the water in the depths is warm. It must be that the spout is too small. You said I should expand it a little bit. Bai Qingqing, who was proficient in physics, hurriedly waved his hand. The spout will still freeze when it expands, and the water temperature will also drop. Lanze was even more sad when he heard it. So what should he do? The fish in the water are gone. Cause me to dig in the mud. I'm not going to starve. The more Lanze thought about it, the more depressed he became. The overlord of the water. Starve to death in the water. If you pass it out, you will lose the face of the old fish. Bai Qingqing hurriedly reassured, don't worry. We have a lot of bacon hanging from our trees. Enough for you to eat. Who knew that Lanze suddenly changed his face, and it wasn't mine? Bai Qingqing continued to explain, you come out with me. Of course, I want to make sure you are thorough, so you can eat with peace of mind. These words made a burst of warmth flow in the salmon's heart. I couldn't help but hook the corners of my mouth. Bai Qingqing really still cares about me. But Bai Qingqing didn't notice this. She was thinking about how to fix the freezing of the water. The problem is sudden. The shy voice of a shark sounded in my ears. Do you want to come to my lair? It's warmer underwater. When Lanzer said this, nervous tail flick. Break the ice. However, Bai Qingqing was inspired by this move. Exercise keeps the water from freezing. Just let the water flow. Come to think of it, Bai Qingqing shouted happily. I thought of the water wheel. The bigger, the better. And is here. He gestured as he spoke. Lanze was still confused. Water what? What happened to you? Bai Qingqing didn't explain either. Just said I figured it out. Wait until I'm done. A surprise for you. Bai Qingqing plans to use bamboo to make buckets, wood to make discs. But the middle bearing is too heavy. Use something hard. He couldn't think of what to do with it for a while. Speaking of prisons, Parker immediately proposed to use stones. Bai Qingqing suddenly brightened. Then the comparison began. It's going to be long. It should also be ground very round and smooth. Is it okay? Parker hurriedly patted his chest to make sure it was okay. What do you want? Just leave it to me. Everything went smoothly. Bai Qingqing was overjoyed. Parker looked at his daughter-in-law with joy. She was happy, although she didn't know what Bai Qingqing was going to do. As long as Bai Qingqing needs it, she's willing to do anything, even if you want to grind the master pestle into a large cylinder. I also don't hesitate. Also unconditionally supporting his daughter-in-law is Curtis. He was responsible for helping Bai Qingqing cut bamboo chips, make buckets quickly. Things are well prepared. Parker and Curtis pulled together first. He put the big stone pillar in the water, then put the big wheel rack with the bucket on it. Look at the finished product. Bai Qingqing himself thought it was incredible. When everything is ready, Lanze just appeared. What are you doing? It's been a morning. Parker listened, angry with the dead. You watched the fish beast all morning. I don't know how to help. Lanzer directly ignored the leopard. Walk up to the water wheel. What is it? Bai Qingqing explained that it was something that helped him breathe. Then he turned his head and asked Curtis to help turn the water wheel around. Curtis then curled the big wheel with the snake's tail. The watermill started to start. As long as the water wheel keeps the water flowing, it won't not. There will be no lack of oxygen in the water. However, when the watermill turns halfway, but the water in the barrel flowed to the ground, soon the whole thing stopped. The man who was already in the circle was even more confused. So what the hell is this? Qingqing smiled awkwardly. Something went wrong. He stepped forward to take a look. It turned out that the angle of the barrel was not adjusted properly. Pass by Parker knock knock. Climb up and down and constantly adjust. The flow of water finally fell accurately into the next barrel. Seeing this, Bai Qingqing's excited cheers were successful. Long live is at this time. A familiar tiger roar came into Bai Qingqing's ears. Look back. A sturdy figure was hurrying towards him. When you see clearly, Bai Qingqing was stunned. But it was Vincent. He is the king of the tiger clan, who is superior in battle. In order to find the person who has been scattered, he searched the world like a madman. Risk one's neck. Wander through the perilous Sin City. Finally learned Bai Qingqing's whereabouts from the mouth of the scorpion beast. The moment I saw him, time seems to stand still. A pair of purple eyes remained motionless like this. When I look at the transformation into a human form, the excitement in his eyes showed a little. He secretly reassured himself that this was not a dream. I finally found him. A moment of recollection. He walked quickly towards Bai Qingqing, but he was still a little incredulous. I couldn't help but want to reach out and confirm. The person in front of him is not real. When Bai Qingqing's voice sounded, the hand stopped in midair. He shrank back in a panic. I'm sorry. The words in my heart made people feel even more distressed, and I lost my temper. I even wanted to touch him without permission. Suddenly, Bai Qingqing twisted his head to the side. That Vincent. We're all glad you're back. Just here. White Tiger felt a flustered in his heart. When it was over, he must have thought I was a breezy beast. However, the second half of Bai Qingqing's sentence was even more panicked. You can't wear a fur dress? Or turn back into a tiger? Vincent apologized, and turned back into beast punishment. Only then did Bai Qingqing dare to face him calmly. Where have you been during this time? The white tiger whined. But Bai Qingqing didn't understand either. At this time, Lanze interjected. You know each other. Bai Qingqing hurriedly introduced